isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding creators, where we sit down, often with special guests, and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry so that you can learn from us and grow your wedding business. Hello, my name is Simon.
And I'm Greg.
Together, we are Cinemate Films, two Scottish-based wedding filmmakers who love nothing more than drinking coffee and talking shop with others in the wedding industry. This episode is, of course, sponsored by With Jack and Pick Time, but I'll get onto that a little bit later with those annoying pre-recorded ads. I know you all hate them, but Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. Greg, how have you been? Yeah, I haven't seen you since France.
I've been very good, yeah. Just back from a week in France.
I was going to say,
nice.
I haven't seen you since France. I haven't seen you since you've been away at France.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see you.
I thought I'd go away and get some sun, but it turns out Scotland did a heat wave anyway, so...
Scotland had a heat wave, and I like how you're on... Is that France 98
yes.
World Cup? Right, okay, cool.
Best World Cup ever.
I mean, I would agree just because of FIFA. What a great game. Anyway, Greg, who are we talking to this morning?
We are talking to Paul Williams from Ginger Beard Weddings. Hello, Paul. How are you doing?
Paul.
How are we doing, guys? That's a great intro. I like that.
Thank you. I often bumble at different points, and I do that on purpose so that people don't think it's like a pre-recorded thing.
Sure.
Because people used to think it was a pre-recorded thing. It's never been pre-recorded.
Very good. It's very good. And I did notice the France 98 t-shirt. I was like, respect. I like that a lot. It's retro. It's good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Paul, thank you for joining us. Tell us about yourself. Just introduce yourself to our listeners for those who might not know who you are. Yeah.
Whoa! I always like these intros. Oh, so yeah, I guess my name's Paul. Obviously, I'm 44 years old. I live in Newcastle upon Tyne now. I lived in Manchester for 18 years, where I went to university. And I'm originally from New Zealand, so I might not sound like it, but I was born and raised over there. I moved here when I was 15. So yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Interesting.
Cool.
Why? What made you move over?
Family. So my parents are from Liverpool.
All right.
So my parents are originally from Liverpool, and we moved to a little place where not many people know, called the Wirral. So I moved to the Wirral. You're probably like, oh, what's the Wirral? What's one of them?
It's a Pokemon, isn't it?
Yeah,
Heard of it, but I don't know where
kind of, yeah. Yeah, so I moved to the Wirral and then lived there for a couple of years, and then moved to Manchester, where I stayed for a very long time. So I kind of had this hybrid Scouse. I can't say Scouse because I wasn't born in Liverpool. I've got to be careful there. I've got this hybrid sort of like plastic Scouse, Manc, twangy accent. But at the moment, because I tell people I live in Newcastle now, they go, "Oh, you sound like a Geordie," and I'm like, "No, I don't. I absolutely don't."
Nah, there's not. There's no Geordie there.
I was like, "Come on, there's a line. I definitely don't sound like a Geordie, but thank you though. It's a great accent."
It is a good accent.
Yeah. So how did all this crazy wedding photography business start for you?
It was kind of an accident, to be honest with you. So my background is film industry and TV. So I actually studied film production at Manchester a long time ago. When I started, it was all analog and mini DV. Remember mini DV tapes?
Oh my God!
Oh,
yes,
goodness
I do.
me, goodness, yeah. Ooh, that's going back a few years. So I started off with High 8 and VHS, and then we quickly progressed into the dizzying heights of mini DV tapes. So that was fun with Canon XL1s. Oh, we were spoiled at college, absolutely spoiled. So then I did that for obviously a few years, graduated in possibly the worst year ever, 2008. I don't know if you remember that year. It was a pretty tough year for it's a bit of a tough year for the banks. So yeah, I sort of, went around and did a couple of like a freelance and a couple of like productions, like films and TV shows and reality TV shows, like Big Brother, Colleen's Real Women. Very, remember, Colleen Rooney? Yeah, she had a TV show many years ago. It was possibly one of the worst experiences of my life. Jeremy Kyle, yeah, like loads of different wonderful, glamorous things. So, and then I worked in a few sort of like, short films, smaller sort of budget films and commercials and things like that. Until eventually, a friend of mine, I went to the photography show and a friend of mine, you know, we got chatting, and she was like, "Oh, I'm a wedding photographer," and da da da. And I was like, I always thought weddings were quite cheesy, quite naff, you know, big. I'm thinking like big sort of meringue dresses and, you know, naff hotels, colour pop, and just, you know, that was my sort of that was my idea of the wedding industry. So when they were like, look, this is the wedding industry. This is the kind of, this is how it is now, and stuff. And I was like, wow, it's actually, you know, it looks great. And went along, second shot for quite a bit, and then thought, yeah, I quite like the look of this. And I actually started off doing wedding films.
Oh,
yeah, I know. Ooh, yeah.
And obviously you were like, nah, this is shite. Not for me. Too much work.
So I think the straw that broke the camel's back with the wedding films was, I remember making this, like, in my opinion, really beautiful sort of like cinematic 14:9 anamorphic like film with like really nice music, like all licensed from Music Bed, like really took ages like on this edit. It was like, you know, with the nice, like, you know, with the speeches over the top, and it was so nice. And the bride comes back to me and says, "We really like it, but could you get rid of the weird black bars? And instead of that music, could we have Ed Sheeran?" And I was like, this isn't for me. This is not for me. So
wait, so when was this then? Because Music Bed's been around for okay.
It would have been at the start of Music Bed, I assume.
Yeah, it's been around for a little while, but not too long.
I think it was like 2016, 2017, I think it was.
Okay.
Like that. I think it was like, yes, it was a long time ago. You know, so I think, and I remember I worked with quite a few photographers, and I was like, oh, I've got some really cool ideas. I want to do this. And because being the videographer, you know, you've just got to do whatever the photographer tells you to do, kind of thing. So I was like, okay, we'll do that. And I was like, oh, I really, you know, I wanted to sort of be a little bit more in control. And I quite like the idea of like stills and stuff. And so I started to do both. I started to do photography and videography. And then eventually I realized how hard videography is and how much editing there is and how difficult it is. So yeah, I quickly...
Were you doing it when it was called Fusion?
That rings a bell, yeah. That rings a bell, yeah. That rings a bell.
Fusion, for anyone who doesn't know, is the original name that the industry gave to those doing photo and video, now that we know as hybrid.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I don't quite understand why we changed the name.
Fusion, I think, because all I know is hybrid, but Fusion rings a bell. Like I said, it was a long time ago, but I wouldn't do both at the same time.
Right.
I'm not,
okay. Oh, right. Okay.
That's like no, yeah. So I do sort of. I'd either do. Someone would book me for a wedding film, or someone would book me for stills. I would never do it at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Then the Fusion name was not given to you.
No. I think anyone who does that is it's impressive. If they do a good job, it's unbelievable. You know, I can barely do. You know, I can't. Multitasking is not the one for me on a wedding day. So like, I'll go today. I'm going to do loads of BTS, and then at the end of the day, I go, whoops, I forgot. So, you know, it's just, so it's like every time, you know, I might do like, at the end, I might do like a quick sort of like, oh, I'll just pan across the room. That'll do. So, just get a bit carried away, or just completely goes out of my head. So,
I have seen a fair few. Oh, I forgot to post during the day. Here's me in my car at nighttime. I'm sorry. I'm like, what? Why did you even need to tell? Don't tell people you failed.
Yeah.
Just fail and move on. Don't shine a light on it. Come on, guys.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it was. I think just for me, it was the sheer volume of work. When I see people who are like yourselves shooting wedding films, like 25, 30 a year, and all the editing and the it's. Yeah, I can't. It's too much for me now. It's too much for my tiny little brain to comprehend. So.
Yeah. It definitely takes too long to edit films. And we're at the moment we're kind of in between that transitional phase where we've reduced our films so much.
Yeah,
but we're still having to do the 15 to 20 minute length films. Ooh. So we're like, I'm on one of those at the moment. And I'm just like, oh my god, I would have been done by now if it was just a shorter one. But yeah, it's But that being said, again, we're getting into photos, and half the time I'm like, Greg, what am I doing? I don't. What?
It's very strange going from like 15 years of doing video and only doing photo for like passion projects and for fun and family to now being like, right, we need to get a workflow that's properly set up for doing photos professionally. It's very strange.
You know the thing I find the most difficult. It's we've been making films for like 15 years, color grading them in a specific way that I'm happy with. But when I go to do stills and I try and like recreate that kind of that look, it never feels good to me.
No.
So it's finding that balance of creating something that makes me feel that I've done a good job in the stills and the video, and being able to put that into a way that we can then run it through the business and have it look all cohesive. Just well done to anyone who's actually managed to do that. It is a fucking hellish task.
It really is. It's so much.
Yeah.
Fair play.
And
Respect.
if I didn't already think I was a fraud, then I'm definitely like, why am I doing this? I don't know.
Oh,
anyway.
You obviously studied film and did a bit of work in the proper industry, and now you're in weddings.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that sort of film school stage of life that's translated over to photography and wedding photography?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's preparation. A lot of it's to do with the prep and the build up, and like I always have my friend Nick. He's a filmmaker, Nick Malone, good guy. So he always loves my call sheets I've got for the wedding day. So I'll go through with the couple, and I've got like a proper film call sheet that I have that on my phone throughout the day. So and I think that's just been instilled with me from film school, is having a call sheet, being prepared. Another thing is, I think it's the what sort of never got not beaten out of me, but when I obviously studying film for such a long time, and then when I came to weddings, the way I frame my images, the way I tell a story, and I remember I think it was 2017. Yeah, 2017. I shot a wedding, and I shot 3 weddings for DOPs who all work for Gate Films. I don't know if it's in Manchester, Gate Films. And I shot one of them, really great guy, great couple. And he said, I said, so, he always asks, so what would you like about my work? What attracted you to my style of photography? And he was like, it's really cinematic. It's like really like cinematic in its nature. Really like the way you frame your imagery and tell a story. And I went, stealing that. That's great. So thank you, Josh. Thank you. What a guy. But I actually bumped into him last year in an Irish bar in Manchester, and I told him that story. I was like, you said my work was cinematic. He said, stole that, and it's just like, it's my tagline all over my website. And he was like, well, I expect some money then, Paul. Come on, what's going on?
What does again? We've talked about this like nebulous term, cinematic. What does that mean to you? Like behind the camera,
what does that mean? I think if you watch, so I actually did a really, really interesting workshop. Have you heard of a guy called Dave Scholes? He's a wedding photographer down sort of Lancashire way.
I don't think
he's a good mate of mine, really great guy. He's very sort of documentary wedding photographer. I'm not very good at explaining things. I'm not very good at sort of like putting things into words. I have to sort of really think about it, and then it'll sort of come out on some sort of verbal diarrhea kind of thing. But I did Dave's workshop, I think it was last year or the year before, and he was talking about framing, and he was talking about telling a story and a visual story, and he used the film Drive as an example. And it's a great film, and there's a really interesting scene where you've got Ryan Gosling and Carey Mulligan, and they're in the lift, and the music's playing, and you've got if you split the screen like half, if you cut halfway down the screen, it's telling 2 different stories. And when they walk out the lift, Ryan Gosling's character goes to the right of the screen, and Carey Mulligan's character goes to the left of the screen in the background, telling that sort of visual story. But it's the way it's framed, and the way that sort of the camera movement and the way that it's shot, it's absolutely beautiful, and it's so simple. So I'd say those kind of techniques. And when he did that, I was like, I get that reference. I totally, because that's what I do, but I can't explain it. In that way. It's like it's telling telling, if you're doing if you're shooting the drink reception and it's telling different stories within stories, and the way that you're framing your subject matter. It's then your color grading. I use grain in my images as well.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Love a bit of grain.
Oh, I love a bit of grain. It's hilarious. And and I think, and then the portraits, I do a lot of sort of central framing. I use a lot of motion blur, to tell if my couple's like walking down the road, I like to use like a slow shutter speed to get a bit of shutter drag to make it look like they're moving and that kind of thing, and just rather than. And I think as well, it's also the lens choices I make. I think if you shoot on an 85 for stills, if you shoot on an 85 for moving image, it's really cinematic. But if you shoot portraiture or anything on an 85 with stills, it isn't. If that makes it, it's for me. It just, I don't know why, it just takes me out of that story. But I think for me, 28 and 50 or 35 is like that's especially 28. I love that focal length. That's my favorite focal length. So I think that my lens choices has a lot to do with my sort of cinematic style as well. I think that leans into it. So it's all these different sort of purposeful choices along the way that I've made to get to where I want to be. But initially in 2017, I had absolutely no idea. I was just like, that'll do. That's a nice lens. Or, I like that preset from Tribe Archipelago. Lovely. So I think everyone had them in 2017, but so that was sort of like my thinking. And then eventually it became purposeful and meaningful, and and I actually put thought into that process. And now it's like, this all makes sense now. So
yeah. You mentioned a couple of lens choices there. Tell us what is in your camera bag typically on a wedding day.
So I used to be very complicated with my camera bag. I'd have 8 lenses. And I get lens fatigue. We all know about lens fatigue. You look in your camera bag and you go, what should I shoot the ceremony on? Or, it's probably a bit different for wedding filmmakers. But I think for me, I wanted to keep it super simple this year. So I got rid of, so I shoot Leica. So I got rid of my SL3 last year. I had an SL3, the new sort of an A9 2 equivalent, I guess, or an A1 equivalent. I'm not sure. But it's like an interchangeable lenses, and I had a 75, an 18 and a 50mm for that camera. Okay. And it was great, but I'd shoot 75, I'd take about 200 images on the 75 for a small portion of the day, and then I'd get the 18mm out for the evening for the dance floor, and I'd shoot 18mm. But then when I look back and I was looking at the story, I'd be like 28, 35, 50, 18. It takes me out of the story. It's too wide. It's not real. It's not real life. An 18mm, it's not like how we see things. It just wasn't sitting right with me. There's something that just wasn't. It was nagging me in the back of my head. I was like, I don't think I like that. It's easy to shoot dance floor on an 18mm because it's so wide. You don't really have to do anything. You just point your camera at what's going on, and you're golden. So this year, I sort of made the decision of my main cameras are like a Q3. With a fixed 28, so it's a fixed 28mm lens. I was like, that's been my main camera for 3 wedding seasons now. Mm-hmm. So anything you see on my Instagram or my website, that's a a wide 28 is the Q3 or the Q2 when I had the Q2, and my second camera. Go on.
I was going to say the 28 is getting some love right now, isn't it?
Oh, It is. I've been all over that train for 6 years. 28. I've been raving about 28mm since 2020. So I started off. I had an SL2S with a 28mm Summicron. What a lens that was! Heavy. It's a heavy camera, the SL, but. And it's not. I don't think it's really for wedding photography. It's too bulky. It's too heavy. It's a great camera. It'd be great for video, obviously, if you've got tripods and monopods and things like that. But I think for wedding photography, personally, having a Q3 with 28, it's a perfect camera in my opinion for wedding photography. It's small. It's light. It's discreet. It's got a silent shutter. Obviously, it takes great imagery. And it's easy to use as well. So I partnered that in December with the Q343. So I've got 2 Qs, and the 43 it's amazing. The lens, it's got a Apo Summicron 43mm. That lens is stunning, absolutely stunning. I had a 50mm, I had a 50 Apo for quite a few years for my M, and that's another fantastic lens. So I thought, it's a no-brainer. It's I think having a fixed Apo on a 43, on a Q is what a potent mix. So I got that, and to be honest, one, it's lightened the load of my camera bag significantly. Two, it's I just chuck those 2 cameras on me, and that's me done all day.
Yeah.
I don't really, and I shoot a lot of my sort of drink reception on the 43, and I just put my Q3 down and shoot. And it's been my go-to for street photography, the Q3 43, because it's literally you put it up to your eye and you're like, oh, that's the frame I wanted. It's just purposeful. It's perfect. I've got 2 film cameras as well, so I shoot analog. I've got a Nikon F100, which is great, autofocus, really really fast, reliable. And I use that for a lot of the sort of like faster parts of the day, like confetti, walking down the aisle, anything that I require. I don't really have to sort of think too much. I can just pull my camera up to my eye, just take a quick picture, pop it back down. And a Leica MP, which is a bit more, again, meaningful, manual focus, rangefinder. So I have to sort of be a bit more, I have to really think about what shots I want before snapping away, because it's all manual focus. So yeah.
Do you ever miss focus with that?
Yeah, but it looks cool, right?
But wow. that is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there when you're jumping between all these different cameras and focal lengths?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're used to it, but is there any like thought process behind certain moments? Yeah.
So what I tend to do is, for the first portion of the day, I'll just have my Qs, so Q3, Q3 43, and there'll be my 2 cameras on me in prep ceremony, and I'll have the Nikon sort of just like with me on the floor, just ready to sort of go for some sort of, I'll go, that's a key moment. I'll shoot that, I'll capture that on digital, but I'll also get it on film as well. And I'll be capturing sort of both. I don't tend to get my M, so I've got an M10P as well, which is digital. But that's kind of like what I like about my sort of setup now, is I've got the 2 Qs, which is digital, the Nikon and the MP, which is analog, and the M10 kind of sits in between, as it is digital, but it mimics film. So it's the best of both worlds. So I don't tend to get that camera out to the portrait. So I might put my Q343 down, and I'll take the M10 and the MP with the Q3, and I'll just shoot the portraits on those 3 cameras, leave the Nikon behind. And then for speeches, it's just my Qs for speeches. Dance floor, Q3, 28. And then, if I do some evening portraits, depending on the light and stuff like that, I might take my 2 Qs again. So it's every camera has a purpose throughout the day. And it's like instead of going like before, like lens fatigue or camera fatigue, and looking in your bag and saying, oh, I don't know what camera to use. I know exactly what camera I want for each point of the day now, so I can go, that's for that, and that's for this, so I'm not getting sort of confused or I've got 5 cameras on me, like looking like Rambo or something, so it's not a good look. Not a good look.
Yeah, and it makes it tricky to walk through doors as well.
It's not great, to be honest.
We were talking very briefly about social media. Do you snap a couple of video clips on your cameras as you go, or?
I've got I recently bought a DJI Osmo Pocket 3.
Yeah.
I still haven't got quite like the hang of it yet. I think it's when you put it on top of the camera, it's quite big. It's like, it's not subtle. So I've put it on top of my camera, and it's kind of like laid flat, but I'm looking at it. I've done it a couple of times, and I've gone, I just don't really like it on top of my camera. It's a bit distracting. So at the moment I've got like a monopod tripod thing, which I use for my flash in the evening. And I just kind of either, for key moments, I just kind of put it behind me so I'm in the shot, and I'll just film a little bit. It's like just like little, and my sort of idea is I just do like 10-second, 15-second clips for like Instagram kind of thing, and that's my sort of understanding. That's, I don't want to film whole segments and stuff like that. I'll just go, right, walking down the aisle or confetti or some portrait bits and stuff like that. So
Yeah. When you say it's distracting on top of the camera, is that for yourself, or are the guests or couple mentioning that? Or
definitely for me.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like it's in the way, and it's like makes it a bit heavier, and it's like because it's sat and it's sticking out, and it just I just don't want any distractions. So I think I'm saying this, and I remember in last year I had an iPhone on top of my camera. Again, people will go, so you've got your iPhone on top of your camera. Is that linked to your camera? And I'm like, do you know, I never thought about it like that. But no, it isn't. But that's a really good question, because it could look like an Atmos Ninja. So so I stopped doing that because it fell off a couple of times. My iPhone. I did have a GoPro equivalent. I had a what was it? The Insta360 Ace Pro. Okay. Which I've still got. But again, I was like, because I wanted to shoot everything in portrait, I'd have to either shoot in landscape and then go to Image Conform in Final Cut Pro, which it sometimes didn't quite work out. It will look a bit pixelated, or the framing wouldn't be quite right. So just you know what it's like.
Yeah. Honestly, I the juggling between doing all these different things at a wedding is quite exhausting. I miss the days of just not having to do any of that, if I'm honest, and just focusing on the thing that you were hired for. But
that's why I was asking about the camera on top of the camera, because that is almost becoming the norm now. It's either you wear Ray-Ban glasses or you have the camera. Like, you just have to be creating that content for your own self, which is crazy.
I think there's a time and a place for it. If I kind of said to myself this year, I said, if it's getting in the way of me doing my job, don't do it.
Yeah.
If it's getting in the way, if I'm sort of like, working and I'm like, oh, I've now got to create some content, and I turn around, I've missed an amazing moment. Like, I don't want that to happen. And it hasn't happened this year. It's never really happened, thankfully. But I'll only sort of go, right, I've got my little monopod. I'll put my my Osmo on top of it. I'll put it behind me. And to be honest with you, sometimes during the confetti or something, there'll be someone right at the back of the confetti line, and I'll be like, just hold my camera for me. They're like, yeah, cool, no worries. And they'll just like hold it up in the air, and I'm like, nice, cheers. And then I'll just grab it off them at the end, kind of thing, and stuff. And so, and when I do portraits, it's a lot easier, because I could just like chuck the Osmo on its tripod and just shoot a bit, move on with it. But I'll only do it if I've got the time, if I feel like it's not going to get in the way of what I'm meant to be doing, capturing someone's wedding day. So yeah.
By the way, that is a little bit of a fun little bit of secret sauce right there. Is give a guess one of your cameras, not one of your good cameras, but like not. we rock up with a VHS camera, nice. I'm editing a film at the moment where we just picked one of the, was it groomsmaids? Who was it?
Yeah, one of the sort of bridesmen.
Yeah, bridesmen. Yeah. We gave him the camera, and we were just like, we picked him because he had that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Where he would just,
you can tell.
Yeah. So we gave him the camera, and I've just been going through all the footage and just putting it in the drinks reception part of the day. I'm like, all these lovely little headshot messages, because he just went around and went, say something nice to the couple, and I'm just wow, that was great. Yeah. So
it's something that over the years we've always been like, not doing guest messages. I hate the idea of it, not doing it. But when you get a guest to do the guest messages,
perfect,
it works really well, because it's so much more casual. People are more open to it.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Plus, you get left little messages, and that's quite funny. This is for editor Greg. You're to make me look good, or
that's
very funny.
That's really nice. I like that. That's a good idea. Giving it to the guests. I like, hand it around.
But I mean, like, you could do that. I mean, I don't know how good a GoPro is for like audio wise, but you could definitely just find someone, bring a GoPro, give it to them, and just have them go wild. We used to do that with kids, didn't we, at a wedding? Yeah. Before GoPros had like image stabilization. It was a bit.
I remember those days.
It was a bit crazy.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm Ashley from With Jack. I'm one of the sponsors of the Perspective podcast. With Jack helps to keep photographers in business by supporting them financially and legally if they have problems with a client or they make a mistake in their work. We've all had that fear of our CF card or our hard drive failing and losing important photos. You can find out more at withjack.co.uk. Head over there and find out how we can help you be a confident creative.
I tell you what's great as well, when you get someone, I've had a couple of celebrants this year who I adore. I shot a wedding in New Zealand in Queenstown, and it was the celebrant / planner who got me the wedding out there. And I said to her, look, you know, you've been amazing. And I have my Osmo, and I've got the little DJI mic thing. You know that people with the, I think actually you've got one, and when you sent me that video and I was at a wedding, and I went, oh, what's this? And it was, you were on a walking pad holding a boot with the mic on it, and I was like, I don't know who this is, but I like him. This is all right. This is a great way to introduce yourself. Yeah, I was like, I showed my, so I was with my friend Nick. We were shooting a wedding in London, and I went, have you seen this? And he was like, wow, that's awesome. Like I've got no notes, you know. yeah. But they're great. Those little mics they're so good. So I just gave it to this. I said to the planner, Ellie, I said, take this. I'll record the ceremony, and I just tail ended it. Final Cut Pro. Whew, there you go. Just gave it to her the next day.
Yeah.
No skin off my nose. Took me 20 minutes to do. It was the least I could do, and she got the full ceremony. And obviously, you know, I give it to the couple as well and stuff, and just because it's a nice thing to do, and it's so easy, you know, so easy to do now with those little mics. So yeah,
it's amazing. I would probably recommend that you don't, like, if there's a videographer there, I wouldn't do that. Like, just be careful of, like, standing on each other's toes.
Oh no, I would never do that if there's a videographer there. I always ask.
Yeah.
Always.
I feel like I'm hyper aware.
Same.
Of that kind of, like, overstepping my bounds for certain points.
100%.
I'll happily get in the back of your shots, but I'm not going to be doing parts of your jobs.
I think what's great now is I was saying to I just finished editing a wedding, and again, my friend Nick, he just got the Sony 20. I think it's the 20. Is it the 2870 everyone's raving about now?
Yeah, 2870 is great.
2870.
Yeah, we've
and
got
it's a big lens. It's a big lens, and
it's not as big as the Canons.
Oh, true.
I will say it's.
I mean, nothing's as big as the Canons. Nothing. I actually, I rented a Canon R6 Mark II at Christmas a couple of years ago because I was thinking about switching one of my bodies to Canon, and I went into Wex to sort of rent it out, and they were like, "Are you ready for this 85?" And I was like, I guess. And they brought it out, and I was like, what? How can I? It's absolutely massive. Like, I couldn't believe it. But then when I used it on the wedding day, people were like, "Whoa, that's a big lens." I was like, they were like really noticeable of it. I was like, okay, but it's an amazing lens. It's a great camera as well. It's a brilliant camera actually. So, but he was using the 2870, and I was sending him screenshots yesterday going, oh, here it is again. And it's in the corner of loads of my photographs. Because he wasn't used to it. So he was like, I was like, your lens is in my shot again. He was like, oh, sorry, mate. But to me, and he's in the back of loads of my shots, and I'm like, it's okay, I've got AI now. So it doesn't matter for me. Obviously, it matters the other way around because you can't get rid of me in the video yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it's something I'm sort of hyper aware of. Like, I'll say, what focal length are you at? He'd be like 50. I'd be like, right, so I know where I could stand, and I won't get in his shot, or, you know, that kind of thing. So
I will say though, again, hyper aware of the added editing time to remove someone is, you know, that's, you know,
the odd shot's fine. I don't mind it if it's the odd shot. It's not a problem, you know. You know, I think I worked with a videographer a couple of weeks ago, and I was cracking up, and they put their tripod not at the back of the aisle, not to the side, but and not halfway down the aisle, a quarter of the way into the aisle. And I was like, well, where am I supposed to stand? What am I supposed to do with that? It's like
was that manned? Like, was he there too behind it?
They weren't. No, they just kind of plopped it there, and I was like, well, should I So I just, it was fine. I just worked around them. It's not a problem. It's funny though. Made me laugh.
Yeah, that is funny. God.
Let's talk about film for a bit, because you mentioned you shoot both. Why shoot both? Why not just choose one medium, digital, film? What's the reasoning behind that?
I'm greedy. I want it all. I think, to be honest, because I started. So when I started shooting, it was in 2003. 2003 I started, and when I was at college, and I remember that we had the film sort of part, all the editing suites, and then next to it was a photography studio with a dark room, and I was like really curious. And I picked up an extra module to do photography. So I was like, right. So I was in the dark room developing film, and I absolutely loved it. Like I just remember like just going out into a lovely, lovely place called Ellesmere Port. Beautiful place, beautiful part of the world. It's not. It's awful. There's a lot of Gregs. Like there's a lot of It's great. It's an amazing little place. But so I went. I used to go into Ellesmere Port, do loads of street photography. Back then, it was just photography. I didn't know, obviously, street photography back then. I didn't really know anything about it. So I was just shooting a couple of rolls of film. I'd come back, I'd ruin that roll of film, and have to do it again. But I loved it. I loved the process of it, and I loved being in the dark room. I liked from A to B, C, D, whatever, I liked going through that process, and then the final result, scanning your images, putting it into, and I was like, I really enjoyed it. And then I kind of didn't touch that medium for years, for a very long time. And then when, I got a Polaroid SX70 a couple of years ago, I think 2018 I got it. And I'd have that in my back pocket at weddings, and people really enjoyed that. And I'd send them their Polaroids and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's a really nice touch. And then when sort of like analog photography started to sort of make some noise, I thought, oh, do you know what? Like I love shooting film. Let's get back into it. Let's dive back into that. And I got a little Olympus Muji 2, and I just kind of played with that for a bit. I didn't this is in 2022, I think, or 23, I can't remember. And I didn't sort of say anything. I just kind of shot that. And then I got a Contax T2, and I got a Leica M6, and I just played for like a year. And I just like, oh yeah, I really like doing this. And then I figured out, what film stock I like to use. Then I figured out what lab I wanted to use. And then, how I wanted it scanned. And then I was like, right, how am I going to then present that to the client, and how would that look for them, and how would that experience be? So I made sure I had all those processes and those things sort of in place before I started going, hey everyone, I shoot film, look at my film stuff. So I made sure I'd banked loads of film photography, like wedding film work, so I could put it on my Instagram, I could put it on my website, and then I could start saying, oh, this is what I'm doing. And then and now when I'm doing it, and when I get the results back from the lab, I'm like, yeah, I like this. This is great. I'd love to shoot a film only wedding. That's my next big milestone achievement, if I get a film only wedding. So I think I'd really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Would it not make you a bit nervous? Because obviously, film and digital, they both have their strengths.
Yeah,
but if you're only working with one medium, then you kind of need to work with its weaknesses as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that is, that's when you know how to master your craft, is when you can work within the weaknesses of your gear. Because they're cameras are so good nowadays.
They're so good. Yeah, they are.
Oh my God. And people are like,
we're so
honestly,
spoiled. I wonder, people have been shooting for like 4 or 5 years. I'm like, do you know how spoiled you are?
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. But because when I started back in the day, when I sound so old, but when I started, it was, like obviously I was saying before, we'd have to have someone logging the rushes. If we're making a film at uni, we'd have someone logging your rushes, going at 29 minutes and 13 seconds, this happened, and blah, 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 blah. So you'd have to do that. And now it's just clips, and it's just so straightforward. But I think because I spent, and I was saying to a mate of mine called Kieran, who runs Come Through Lab in Manchester, we were talking about, people coming over to film for the first time and sort of using film. and he was saying that the amount of people who will just pick up a film camera from like a flea market or a secondhand shop, go, hey everyone, I'm charging for film now. Charge for a film wedding. Never tested that camera. And then the amount of times he said we've got to go, and they're really good actually. If the film's knackered or something that goes wrong, they will refund. They will give you a roll of film, which is really nice. Wow, however, they can't get back the memories of that wedding day. So if you're shooting, if you're shooting film, and I can name 3 people in the UK, 2 or 3 people in the UK who I think are masters of their craft, who shoot film at such a high level. So, and I think, and again, it's because I've been doing it for such a long time, and they just know exactly what to do.
Who are they? Who are they, Paul?
Ooh,
you elusive little
on the spot.
So on the spot. So I think my 2 favorite. I'll go 2. My 2 favorite film photographers are Daniel Knight Harris.
Okay. Yep.
He's unreal. His film work is just, I think he's probably the best in the country at film photography. And I'd say the joint second would be Jessica Gwyneth. Gwyneth, yeah. Yeah, she's.
I feel like I was just sent her name actually.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. She's so I've never met her, but obviously I've seen her. She gets her film developed through Come Through Lab as well. And I've seen her just popping up all the time on Come Through Lab, and I was like, who is this person? Like, just consistent.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. She's consistent. Her film work is just constant, just so good. It's so consistent. And and she shoots. I think she does shoot digital, but she shoots like film only. There's a couple of other people. I've got some honourable mentions who shoot film as well, like Damien Brandon, a really close friend of mine. He's probably up there with them as well. He's someone who's just unbelievable at shooting film, and just knowing his craft. Like I think he develops his own film as well and scans it. So he's
Sorry, that was my Instagram popping off there.
Yeah. So so that's I think for me it's like it's getting to that level. It's practice, R&D, playing, and then just repetition, and then consistency, and then just getting to a place like where you want to be, where you can start using it at weddings and charging for it. Like I've just bought a Super 8, and it should be arriving today. I'm not going to. I mean, I'll probably mention it like in passing, like maybe on my Instagram, but I'm not going to charge for it. Not for a long time. I'll probably maybe next year I might pop it on, but I'll see how I get on. So I've said to my client, I've got a wedding on the 4th of July. I spoke to them last night and I said, hey, just bought a Super 8 camera. Am I cool just like using it on your wedding day and just having a practice with it? Obviously, I'm not going to charge you for this service, but I'll bring the camera. I'll shoot some, Super 8 footage. If it looks great, obviously I'll give it to you. Could you give me some feedback on what you think of it and stuff like that, if that's okay with you? And they were like, yeah, that sounds great. Of course. They're like stoked. But I said, it might not come out. It might be terrible. It might be amazing. Who knows? Let's find out together. Yeah. So they're keen. So and I think that's kind of how I did it with the analog stuff. Like last year and the year before, it was just I'm going to shoot some film today. Not sure if it's going to be any good, and then I'd put it in their gallery, and they were like, "Oh, these are some of our favorite images. Thanks, brilliant." So, yeah.
Do you like upsell the film to couples, or do they usually come asking for it? Or do you have a pitch that you give them as like, this is why you want it?
I think I used to work in sales, and I hate the idea. I think my last job was Apple. And what I loved about working for Apple was...
were you a genius?
I wasn't. I wish I was, because everyone says that, and I wish I was. I wasn't. They were some clever people. So it was a bit, bit over my head. So I was. My job role was expert.
Oh, I mean that sounds good as well.
It does, yeah. It felt like a bit of a fraud, but but like it was. I know. So we're just all winging it. So yeah. So I was an expert, and I think we never really had to sort of upsell or sell anything. So I've taken a lot of my things that I learned when I worked at Apple into my business, especially like branding and things like that. But what I found is like if I just pop it on Instagram and say here's some film stuff I've done, or it's on my website and I talk about it, I've done a couple of blog posts about it, people are curious and they start asking questions. They start going, oh, what's this analog? And what I do is in my main package I actually offer taster, because I love shooting it so much. I actually just included it in my sort of main all-day package as a little film taster. I say, oh yeah, I'll shoot a roll of film. I usually do 2 or 3, so and then they're like, wow, what a lovely surprise. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you do. I was sorry, I was just on your package pages because I do want to talk about it. But I'm assuming you're a Christopher Nolan fan, since you've got your package names Memento for the Illumins, Interstellar, and Inception.
Yeah. Big Nolan fan.
Yeah.
So the genesis or the sort of creation of that, or the was my friend. Another shout out to my guy Tom Wright, who created my preset. I don't know if
he's
you know
been getting
Tom
every episode.
You are a fucking hustler, pal.
He's a
if you're
hustler.
listening, Jesus.
He's a sexy man. So I love Tom. He's probably, in terms of the photography realm, he's probably he's the most generous person with his time. He's very kind. He's incredibly knowledgeable.
Yeah.
There's nothing he doesn't. So I said to him, I was like, hey man. So we sat down. He was like, right, we're going to build my preset together. So how he does it is it's either over Zoom, FaceTime, whatever, or face to face. And obviously he lives in Burnley. So we came into Manchester when I lived in Manchester, and we did a 4-hour session. We sat down, and I drove, so I was in Lightroom. I had a bunch of my images in RAW, and he's like, right, what wedding photographer's work do you really like? And I was like, what kind of edits? And I was like, and I'd been sent this like to do some research, and I said, I don't know. I don't really know anyone whose work where I've go, oh, I want my edit to look like that. And I also said, I don't really want my work to look like anyone else's, because I'm sure if I then did that, they'd go, hang on a minute, that looks like my work. And I spent ages building that preset, so that's not very fair either. So he said, okay, so what do you like? And I said, well, people say I'm a cinematic wedding photographer. Let's lean into that, and like maybe a preset that is based off one of my favorite directors or one of my favorite cinematographers, and da. So we talked about that, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Christopher Nolan's cinematographer is Wally Feister. And I said this to him, so I said, I really like Christopher Nolan's edit. And he said, oh yeah, so his DOP is this guy, and he shoots a lot on Contax G lenses and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, how do you know this? Where have you just pulled that from? But he knows that his knowledge is so deep.
Yeah.
So we chatted, we sat down, and we spent 4 hours building this preset to look sort of like Tenet, or Inception, that sort of like those blues, those greens, those skin tones, and that sort of cinematic sort of look. And at the end of it, one of my old grooms, Adam, who's also a photographer, he worked in my co-working space, and he walked past with a coffee, and he's like, oh, is that your new preset you've been building? I said, yeah. And he had not been in the office, and he said, oh, I like it. It's very, it's giving me Nolan vibes, like Tenet. And I was like, and I went, no, it isn't. And I said, you've heard that, and you're just taking the piss. And he said, no, see, I've not been in the office. I've been out shooting all morning. So I said, you know what, that's great. So we sort of ran with that, and then I thought, you know what, I'll name my packages after, obviously, Nolan. And what's even sweeter is last year I shot Gary Oldman's son's wedding.
Oh,
and he booked
what?
the Interstellar package, and I was like, damn, I wish I'd name one of them after I wish I called it the Dark Knight or something, or I was like, I would have been perfect. That would have been amazing, but he didn't. Obviously, didn't work out that way. But yeah, it was still pretty cool. Yeah, still pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah. How do you balance that kind of look with film? Or do you... In fact, so you get your film scans as TIFFs, I'm assuming.
Yes,
yeah. Do you color grade them after the fact, or is that kind of step frowned upon, let's say,
I don't
for
think
the purists out there?
I mean, yeah, I think the purists potentially, but I think, any sort of... if you look at someone like Daniel Knight Harris, I think he scans his own work, but he will color grade it and stuff like that. I'm assuming, I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong if he's listening to this, or I might chat to him later about that. But what I do is, so I send. I'm using Carmen Citalab at the moment in Barcelona, and what I really like about them is obviously my base was Portra 400. So my base preset was based off Portra 400. So I use a lot of Portra, I use a lot of Kodak film stocks like Kodak Gold, 160, 800, 400, Ultramax sometimes, So I use, and the colours are similar, like obviously 400 is very special, but it's so expensive. But, that's another story. So knowing that, and then when I take it to Carmen Citalab, what I really liked about the experience I got from them, they said, hey, this is great. 5 rolls of film. I said, what have you been shooting on? I said, Kodak Gold. They went, okay, great. Have you got a digital reference? And I said, yeah. So I sent them a digital reference of that wedding I just shot. And what they do, they take that digital photograph and they try and match it for the colours. And I actually, and what I wanted was I wanted my digital images to look as close to the film images as possible. That's what I wanted, because I wanted I didn't want my film images to look digital, but rather I wanted my digital images to look like film. Yeah, more like film, like to the point where I posted a story on my Instagram last month, and I said, which one's film? 50% of people got it wrong, which is great. I wasn't mad about that. I was like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because you could, it's just, it's great because then you can go, I've got digital images which look very film-like, and you've got these beautiful filmic images which look great rather than, either underexposed or badly scanned or, just put through like a terrible lab or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. I can't speak for many people, but I'm assuming that's probably the majority of people who shoot both would probably do, right? They would make their digital look like film as opposed to their film look like did.
I think so.
You would think so,
Or like, or if they want it to look completely different from their analog work, their digital work. But I know, most of the people I know who shoot both, their images, they look very similar. They're digital and they're analog. And I think it's something, it's that consistency, and it's getting that consistency.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time.
Let's talk more about your packages because obviously you mentioned that you know how to sell stuff, and I think that's probably a weakness that many people have. And there's also the debate of, do you show, do you not show?
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at your packages page, and there is a lot of information.
All the prices are there.
There's your UK packages, and you've got 3 packages in the UK section. You scroll down, you've got destination packages, 3 others. By the way, I love the name Spirited Away, my favorite Studio
film.
Ghibli. Oh, favorite Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
But it's called Thief and Eagle and Shark.
Yeah, they're all nods to university. All nods to my uni days.
Oh, okay. And then you've got an analog section, and you've got 3 packages there. So already I'm looking at 9 packages.
Yeah.
Now, I understand there are specifically 4 different potential clients. But that's quite a lot. And then you've got your choose your own adventure. So it's like you've got a build your own type thing as well. So it's almost a la carte, almost not. Kind of like you'll do everything, kind of, maybe. Tell us about your thought process in packaging and stuff.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because it's all changing. I'm getting a new website soon. I'm getting a brand new.
Well, no, that's great. Then
no, it's good. It's good because it's
all. Why
learning.
is it changing?
Yeah.
So tell us everything about.
I think for me, I think it's always. And one of the challenges I think a lot of people face in this industry is letting your ego do the driving or being stubborn. And what I mean by that is going, I'm not getting any bookings, I'm not getting any inquiries, and things are really slow at the moment. Oh, it must be. It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because I've got, my mate over there, he's He or she is they're booking weddings. They're doing really great. So it's also, I always look internally. I'm always looking at my so every single year, January to February is R&D time. So research development. I look at my body of work from the previous year. I'll do my best of 2024 in this case, and I'll look through and I'll go, what are my weaknesses? So I'll look at my weaknesses. What can I improve on? What am I sort of falling down on? And one of the things I identified was definitely giving too much away. I think people were like, we want to, what feedback a couple of years ago was, oh, we want price on the website from clients. We want to see what you cost. And I was like, yeah, I get that. That's totally cool. So I did that. No problem. So I did that. And maybe I think having everything on the same page, and especially if to me, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense to me because I made it. But to an average sort of person who wants to book a wedding photographer, they might go, what the fuck? That's a lot of information. I don't get it. So they'll get in touch, and a lot of people, they won't look at that sort of that page on my website, and a lot of people don't even look at that page. So I'm like, do I take it away? Do I minimize it? So my new website, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to have starting at. Yeah. So I'm going to have, but I'll have a different page for every. So I'll have like a destination page. I've got an analog page, and I'm toying with, do I need a UK page or whatever? I'm not even going to have a portfolio. I'm going to have my blog, because people, I've got a, I can't remember the name of the software, but I track, obviously I see where people go on my website, and most people just go straight to my blog. Yeah. Homepage, blog, contact, bam. Sometimes to the investment page, and they quickly get off it and leave my website because they're like, what? But again, they might work it out and go, oh, maybe it's a little bit too pricey, or great, we'll get in touch, perfect. But I think for me, I was like, I added the film only, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I added it, and I was like, it's quite a lot, that. But I'm not, I think this year I'm not struggling. That's not the right word. I think it's more, I want to simplify it even more, so my client has such a good experience when they go on my website, and it's so clear. They go on my website homepage, information about me, what I'm starting at. Oh, I'm getting married abroad. Oh, there's a destination tab. That's me. That's me. Click on that. How does a destination wedding work? Links to blog posts from destination weddings. So you're thinking about booking a destination wedding, a blog post on that. Brilliant. What's included? This is what's included. Great. Starting at this. Oh, I'm going to get in touch. Bam. Get in touch. And it just simplifies that process for the client. Or I'm interested in analog. We'll go on that. And then they can get in touch, and they can, obviously, there's more to talk about. And then when I send them my brochure, my brochure is going to be, I think I'm toying with a couple of options on how to do my brochure, either a PDF or it's going to be linked to the website, and it automatically sends potentially when they fill in my contact form. But it's something I'm toying with my web developers, and we're just kind of feeling that out. And I'm actually even asking clients who book, I'm saying, how did you find the process? And how did you find that? And I ask them questions, and old clients, I'll say, when you booked me, and I'll just ask them, like, how was my brochure, the packages, the pricing, was it clear? A lot of people say it's really clear. So when I just booked a wedding, what day is it? I booked a wedding on Sunday, and they were like, it was brilliant. They got in touch. They've been on my website, loved my work. It was exactly what they wanted. They got in touch. I sent them my brochure. They were like, that's the package we want. We want the Interstellar package. Perfect. Because you want a bit of analog. We want you there all day, smashing. And then we had a nice conversation over Google Meet, and then they booked me the next day. That's generally what happens. Like, that's generally the process that where I'm most successful is, once I get into the consultation and we chat, and I chat through the day, I chat through how my brochure works and how my pricing works and what I do. They go, oh, that makes total sense. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. But I think it's great that you've highlighted that with my current investment page, because that is obviously it's my current website, but that's something I identified in January and went, that needs to be better.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one, because there's no right or wrong answer, right? There really isn't.
No, there isn't.
But there are, I can't remember who we were speaking to about this, but they were talking about redesigning their website. Was it Jennifer Moore? Maybe it was, because I just did her styled shoot with Curie in Edinburgh. That was great, by the way.
I saw that actually. It looked great. Yeah, it looked really good.
It was really good, really great fun. By the way, if anyone's interested in Jennifer Moore, she was a past guest on one of our episodes, and a lot of what she talked about on the episode was still relevant and was spoken about in the shoot. So if you're interested, anyway, I'm pretty sure it was her. She was talking about redesigning her website. Again, maybe it's not, but the idea of they were looking at how people navigate websites nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Usually, if you look at stats, a lot of it's on your phone. I know that's sacrilege, but you got to work with the data that you're given. If that's how people are thinking, that touch to go to the next page maybe doesn't work anymore. No. Maybe you want all your information on that main page, because people are used to scrolling. They don't like clicking away.
Nope.
So that's because we've started kind of zhuzhing up our website a little bit because it was lacking. And there's quite a lot of information in there, but a lot of it is on that, the first you scroll down, it says the hybrid stuff, and it says video, and it says the destination video, and all that kind of stuff. So it's all there, and if they wanted to, they can click on those sections to get more information.
And by then they're sort of committed and they'll get in touch.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. You hope for the best. But I think it's being less wordy as well. I think the websites that I've looked at, and there's like a massive, because I think it's that no one has any patience anymore. Really. I mean, people do, but there's more of a, when you're online, say if you're, and my sort of understanding is, if I'm shooting, like my sort of ideal clients are London-based couples or Bristol, Manchester, and I'm thinking the finished work, they're like on the underground or the metro or whatever, and they're going, just do a bit of research. So they're on Instagram, they come across my work, they click on the link, they go to my website, and they just want to scroll. Okay, that's what he does. Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, I like that work. Oh, there's a blog post. Cool, click on that. Contact. So I have like my contact page on the bottom of every, like my contact form on the bottom of every page. I don't want to be, I'm wordy, but I don't want to be too wordy, because people go, oh, I'm not reading all that.
Yeah.
And it's also keeping things really, really clear. And I think I do that the majority of my website, my about page, like bullet points about me, or my portfolio page, like a load of imagery. And I've gone and looked at my portfolio page and gone, well, why would people scroll on my portfolio page when I could just go on my Instagram? So that's what I was thinking, maybe. Like they've looked on my Instagram, they've had a good scroll on my Instagram, and then they've gone, I've seen your work because I've been on your portfolio on your Instagram. So they go on your website, and they're going to go, they've kind of 50% there because they've gone to your website, which is a big commitment. So they'll go to your website and they'll go, oh, brilliant, homepage. Oh, I like the look of him. He looks all right. Cool. Oh, that's funny. Or testimonial. Oh, people say good things about, etc. And they'll scroll through. And this is kind of my thinking, that what I do to commit to, like if I'm buying a piece of clothing, or if I'm investing in something like a web designer or someone to do my branding or whatever. And then maybe, his contact page is on the bottom of the thing. I'll get in touch. And that's generally, and that's when you purposely, when I post at like 8 o'clock in the morning, because people are on the way to work, or I post at 6 p.m, 5 p.m, because people are on the way home from work. It's doing things purposefully and making sure you get the maximum amount of exposure to people planning their wedding. It's the same with when I do my targeted ads and my PPC and my boosting posts on Instagram. It's curating audiences for the right people and posting the right kind of work for people to resonate with that work and go, oh yeah, that looks like us. But we're getting married there and we want that as well. So simple.
All that sort of gives your brand voice, a confidence and a swagger, and then obviously the work backs it up.
Yeah.
Is any of that sort of brand voice, like in the copy on the website, is that changing at all?
Yeah.
Or is it really just the flow and packages type thing?
So we're going for brand new website, very grown up. Ooh. It's a bit more sort of filmic. So it's more cinematic, more film based, less. So I think my current website's quite sort of alternative. It's
it is. It definitely
totally is. And that was me. I mean, I'm still like, I love, obviously, I'm not saying I won't shoot alternative weddings. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'll shoot everyone, everyone is welcome. But I think personally, I'm just going, a bit older, a bit wiser. And I want to go for more sort of a grown up, more sort of film based, because I feel like that's me. I study film school. I love film. And I've got all these things, and I'm like, why am I not? Why is this? This needs to be more sort of me. So it's more me, and then my branding's changing. So I'm speaking to my branding guy this afternoon, where I'm doing a whole visual identity, filling this form in, finding sort of other brands that I identify with and what I want, my target audience, who I'm looking for. My font's changing as well, and I've just updated my preset 2 months ago, so my preset's actually changed already, and it's a little bit. It's not completely different. It's not a million miles away from my Christopher Nolan style preset, but it's subtle. It's a subtle change, but I think for me, it's like the visual identity of your work, the way your work looks, to your website, to your branding, to your font. It's all part of the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it's just making that all cohesive and makes sense to the client who's looking at that and goes, "Oh, I like that style of work." And then when they go to your website, it makes sense, the style of your website to the style of your work. And then it just flows nicely into your blog or your, and the way, it flows into like, he shoots analog. Well, that makes sense because of the style of his work. So, yeah.
We're going to interrupt this podcast to bring you an advertisement for PickTime. Our buddies at PickTime, we love PickTime. If you want to elevate your business, PickTime's maybe the way to do it.
It's an online gallery delivery service.
It's a really good looking one, which is initially how we got into the service. It just looks better than all the other kind of platforms that we personally use.
Yeah. We've over time got to know the owners, got to know the people behind it. Lovely people, great support system there as well.
There's just so many tools at your fingertips with PickTime, but the marketing and the blogs and the slideshow features.
Yeah, there's so much more than just a gallery delivery service. You've got all those things that Simon was talking about. You can create your own blog from it. You can create slideshows. One new feature that I really love is the vendor network. It's where you can use AI to curate a gallery for a specific supplier. So you could use AI to gather all the photos of the flowers and send them to the florist, and they would have that gallery specific just for them.
It's kind of a mind-blowing feature.
Yeah.
And we might as well be taking advantage of AI before the uprising and it starts taking advantage of us. So let's just all bear that in mind.
Yeah, and not to mention the built-in store, and that way you can just make more money while also having a nice, aesthetically pretty gallery.
Yeah. And if you want to sign up today, you can get a free month if you use Perspective at checkout.
Yeah.
So if you want to test out for free for a month, go for it.
Take your business to the next level with PickTime.
The one thing that again, it's like having a style, but then having to, like, you don't have any control, or you don't have much control of where you are, where you're shooting.
Oh yeah.
Different lights. You have to be good at working with light, but then because you don't have that control, it's like, well, I've got this look, this style. It doesn't always translate to every single scenario, and I find that quite a hard balance as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think what I tend to do is what you show on your website. So on your Instagram, it's like I don't show obviously every single portion of the day. There's certain things I might go, well, that, how do I put this? Like I think, especially like some of my documentary work doesn't translate, into, like I won an award recently with This Is Reportage, and it was a shot. It was a shot of some people stood on a grass verge, and it said "keep off the grass." That's very sort of documentary, but I wouldn't necessarily show that on my website or my Instagram because it's not very cinematic and it's not very sort of. It's a great image. It was very funny. The couple love it. They thought it was hilarious. But for me, it's not something I'd sort of necessarily show on my website. If that makes sense. And it's just curating that and making so people you have like a solid voice and a solid body of work that people resonate with.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it is so hard because there's some. I was speaking to Greg about this. I was like, image and what you put out there and style wise all needs to be of a one kind of, I don't want to say tone, but like of a oneness with each other. But there's this couple that do fit in our client kind of look, but they're holding lightsabers, and I love the fact because big Star Wars fans, and that was a big part of their wedding.
That'd be so cool, actually. I love that.
But then I've used that image, and it does stand out.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, if you were to look at our feed and then see that image, you'd be like,
It jars slightly.
it's jarring.
But
because not everyone's going to be into Star Wars, but I think if I had something like that, I'd love it. I'd be like, oh, this is amazing.
Oh, I was buzzing about it.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, a massive Star Wars
great
fan.
couple.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
fun, yeah.
And there's requests to get, like, say for example, I'm not massively into like flat lays, for example, or like a shot of the dress hung up and whatever. But if someone's like, we really want that, you better believe I'm doing it. 100%. Of course.
Great.
I'm not gonna not do it. And I think it's something that, again, it's a couple of years ago I was at a wedding, and a couple came up to me and they said, "Oh, excuse me, can you take a picture of us?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." And they went, "Oh, we were so nervous about asking you." And I was like, "Why?" I mean, we were at a wedding last week, and we said to the photographer, "Can we have a picture?" And he said, "No, I don't do that. I'm documentary only."
What?
Wow.
And I was like, ooh, okay.
What a dick move, man.
Yeah,
Please don't do that, people. If you're listening, don't be that.
And what I did, I shot a wedding in May, and there's a couple I'd shot their sort of micro wedding in London, and I met all their mates, and it was great. And then I was shooting their sort of bigger wedding in Barcelona. Like a month later, and I got to know all their mates. We had a really good time, and then when we were in Barcelona, we were during the drinks reception. It was kind of they were just about to sit down for dinner, but there wasn't a lot going on. All the little canapes had finished, and everyone was getting photographs by this like lovely little outlook. I stood there for like 20 minutes, just taking like 10 couples pictures.
Yeah.
Like I just went, because I was like, do you know what? I'm stood here. The couple have gone to freshen up. And I was having they were all lovely people. I did go for a beer with one of the couples the next day in Barcelona. But they, they're lovely, really nice people. And and I just said, I'll tell you what, I'll grab some on your iPhone, and I'll also take them on your my camera. And they're all in the gallery. But I won't necessarily, I'm not going to show that on my Instagram because it doesn't make any sense.
No. Sure.
Or I've taken it and they can have that, because that's really nice, and it's a nice thing to do. And I think it's like I look at it like, if you're watching a film directed by David Fincher or Catherine Bigelow or whoever, or it's their style and the way they cut that film together, and what they're showing you is from their point of view and their perspective. And it's the same when you curate your website or your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever it might be. You're curating that from your taste and like what you want to attract. So I don't think there's anything wrong with not showing everything that you post, or if you might shoot a wedding, you go, do you know what, that was an amazing wedding, I had a really good time, but I don't think I'm gonna blog it, that's because I've shot there 6 times or whatever. I don't think there's a problem with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I mean, that about taking the extra couples photos and stuff just makes sense, because you're there anyway. You've got your camera. What is it to just cull a few more images and put a preset and a wee bit of editing?
Exactly.
It's not much extra
2
work.
seconds.
And it makes you appear... Oh, is that... Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought you were saying you needed to run off there.
Oh, no. Good.
Sorry. It takes like 2 seconds. Why not just do it? So, but on that point, like, what are you like on a wedding day? How are you interacting with the guests and couple? Yeah. What's your approach to that?
My approach is very similar to how I sort of am now, quite relaxed. I never used to be. Like, I think like it's like post sort of like 2021, I just things just start to click into place. And I think, I don't get too worried about oh no, there's no golden hour. Okay, that's all right. That's the way it's meant to be. Or You know, things might be running late a bit, or it's just keeping your couple super calm, interacting with the guests. Like, you know, I'm super friendly. I'll have a laugh with everyone. I'll get sort of quite involved in the day. I'll stand chatting to guests for like a little bit during the drinks reception. I won't be like, oh, I need to run off and take pictures. There's always plenty of time for that. If someone wants to have a conversation with me for 5 minutes, absolutely no problem. They sometimes say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you're meant to be working. I'm like, no, I'm having a conversation with you. This is really nice. So I think for me, it's like that. As I said, when I worked for Apple, one of the sort of main things in our training, or the training, was you're always on stage. You're always on stage at a wedding. So if you're on your phone in the corner at a wedding day, shaking your head at something, or which I've seen videographers do this, or I've seen suppliers do this, if they're not having a particularly good day, people see that. Yeah. People notice that. So I don't tend to get my phone out. I'll either have it in my bag, it's not in my pocket, it's a distraction. I've actually got all my notifications turned off, my watch, my phone, so nothing, if I get a text message, nothing will go off. So it's like all, because I want to be completely sort of obviously zeroed in on the day and focused. But for me, it's just being super friendly, really relaxed, part of the day, you know, just vibing with the couple, their friends, getting to know everyone's names, especially like parents or grandparents and things like that, making them feel very special and important, which they obviously are, and make it, you know, that just taking that, you know, that time to say, I'd really love a picture with my nan, and I'd be like, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna make sure I get a candid rather than just getting a 4-stage picture of you two. And it's taking that extra step of making sure you get those special, like, you know, those images that they want, the sort of stage one, but you'll get an even better image than that, and just making your couples feel like so important, and not like, oh. And I think one of the things that sort of not bugs me, but it's, oh, I've got 4 weddings this weekend, and put it on their Instagram, and I'm like, oh, I just don't think that looks good. If you're one of those...
Are they mourning? Sorry, are they mourning about it, or what?
No,
what
I mean, like, more sort of like going, oh, I've got 4 weddings in a row this weekend. If I'm one of those couples reading that, I'd be like, oh, I'm sort of one of 4, and you don't feel that special. And it's also when people if you put like an edit queue on your Instagram story, like in the queue, I don't like that either, because it's not a queue. It's, you know, you shouldn't, you know. I just think it's little things like that which just need tweaking. So like I don't tend to shoot that many 2 in a row, 3 in a row. Like, I haven't got 3 in a row this year. I haven't shot, like, I shoot 1 a week now. I'll make sure if I get another insane inquiry, I'll be like, never mind. I just don't want to do it, because I want to be completely, like, I want to be 100% of my focus. I want to be, you know, I don't want to be a bit sore from the day before, or a bit tired, or I want to be full of creative ideas and just fully focused on that couple in front of me, and just on my absolute A game. And I just think, if you're shooting 4 weddings in a row, fair play to you if you've got to do that, and that's, you know, that's the way you run your business. I'm absolutely not criticizing that, but I think it's just for me, it's just it's just that extra step of due care and attention, basically, I think.
Yeah. I want to go back to that idea of the posting on social media, the edit queue, because there's a few photographers I know who do it, and I think it's great to inform your couple of kind of like... See, this is where it gets difficult, where they are in the editing queue, or give an idea as to how long they should be waiting, or it's that perception of, oh, well, there's 5 couples in front of me, I understand.
See,
that is their job. Of course I'm going to be in a queue. Like, is it all right? Because it's not like we're going to be lying. Like, they're going to know they're in a queue.
I think for me, it's like, I've not been chased for a wedding in 2 years, maybe 3 years. No, I've never, where's our photos? How are we getting on with the photos? I don't get that anymore. I think because I'm so clear leading up to the day, I'll say, and another thing, it's like, it's we all do this. It's over like under promising and over delivering. Which is something we all know really well. But I'll say, okay, so I'll deliver, obviously, you know, leading up to the day, it's like, it's 12 weeks. It's 12 weeks, you know, turn around for your sort of full gallery. And then I'll say, I'll deliver your previews in, like, you know, a week's time. I'll do it the next day. next day previews or 2-day previews, like maybe the Monday or something like that, depending on if I've got the energy or if I'm getting the train back up from London, I'll smash out the previews. It'll take me like 2 hours, not a problem, and then I'll deliver it sort of when I get home, and I'll be like, oh, here's your previews, and I'm like, wow, what a surprise. And I know most people do that now, but I'll give like 150 previews. So
that is a lot of previews.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah.
Whoa.
So I'll give 100 to 150 previews, because then they're like, and it's every sort of big part. I'll leave out obviously a lot of images just a surprise for the full collection, but I'll put a lot of sort of like, it's like a mini sort of it's basically a mini wedding collection, so it's start to finish, like every sort of aspect of the day, but just like 1 or 2 images of that, of like the ceremony, 1 or 2 images of the portraits, some dance floor, and they get an idea of like the entire day and how that looked. And I'm sure like everyone does that, but I think because I deliver so many images, and they're expecting 50, I deliver 150. I say a week, I deliver the next day, and they're like, whoa, that's unbelievable. And then I say it's going to be 12 weeks for your photos, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, because I've done all this other stuff, and I've gone above. Obviously we all go above and beyond, but you go above and beyond the day, and it's just like you're ticking all these boxes for that couple. Like, oh, Paul was unbelievable, and he gave us the previews the next day, and he gave us all these images. And maybe sometimes, you know, if I've got time, I'll do a little slideshow, like a little preview slideshow with like the song they walk down the aisle to or something like that, and just like those little touches. And then what I'll do is I'll deliver within 7 weeks, 8 weeks. Like I've got 2 galleries of delivering on Friday. I've been sat on them. I edited them 6 weeks ago, but I've been sat on them for like another couple of weeks, because I wanted them to enjoy their previews and not be like, here's your previews, here's your images, see you later. It's like I wanted them to like really be excited about their images, their collection, their full collection. So giving them like 2 months to wait for their full collection and go, here's your full collection. So I'm delivering on, and I always deliver on a Friday. I always deliver on a Friday night. We deliver send the email on 5 o'clock on a Friday. Say, get the champagne out, you know, order some food or whatever, get the family round. I don't know how you want to do it, and just make a night of it. Get your laptop, plug it into the TV, watch your slideshow first, and all your images, and just really enjoy it. And some of them, like 4 or 5 hours later, you know, they'll send me a message going, we've just got through all the images. It's taken us all night. We've had such a lovely evening just going through all the images, and it's making it an experience for them. It's making that experience. And I think because of that, you know, I don't really, that due care and attention, and that build up to then delivering the final set is so purposeful. I don't get anyone chasing me anymore for their images. Yeah. Touch wood. And if they do, it's like I'll go, oh, hey, how's it going? And they'll be like, yeah, and they go, oh, you're so busy on your blah blah blah. And I'll say, yeah, you know, and I'll say, yeah, it's gonna be 12 weeks as per the contract, you know, like it'll be 12 weeks from your wedding day. And they go, oh, no problem, we're just excited. And which I totally understand. There's no, it's not a bad thing. They just want to see the photos. But yeah, I tend to do in like 7 or 8 weeks, just because they're like, oh, we were expecting 12 weeks, you know, that kind of thing. So everyone, again, something everyone does. Yeah.
A lot of photographers and filmmakers get annoyed when clients ask. And I'm like, well, why are you getting annoyed?
I don't.
They just want to know. I would ask.
I'm definitely with Paul on the sort of showing the edit queue list. I don't like it. Yeah. I just feel you're not tricking a couple.
It.
Like, couples are not going to think they're the only one that you're working with. But you've got making them feel like that.
Yeah. You've got
just
to
elevates it a wee bit.
You've got to make them feel. It's like, do you get this on a wedding day? So if you're in the morning and you get a bridesmaid, and again, or a makeup artist, whoever, and they mean well. They don't mean this. They're just like having a conversation with you, and they'll go, "What's the worst wedding you've ever shot?" And you go, "Why would I tell you that?" And you've got the bride sat there, and I just go, "Oh, do you know what? I don't really shoot bad weddings. Like every wedding's great." And I just like say, like, you know, real sort of like footballer answer, like, you know, diplomatic, and I'll just then change the subject back to the current bride, and just I don't ever really talk about past weddings or other couples to that, because I want them to feel like they're really special, and not like, oh, I've got a wedding tomorrow, and oh, I shot a wedding yesterday, and oh, I'm a bit tired. Because I've had videographers and I've had people or other people say that in front of the couple, and I'm like, ooh, read the room. You know, it's like it's just being conscientious and saying, you're really important to me. Your day's really important to me, which it is. I'm just so focused on your day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about, anything negative, obviously. I'm not going to talk about other weddings that I've shot. Unless the bride might go, I saw that wedding you shot last week. The photos look great. Yeah, it was a good one, that. Yeah, really good. And then I'll sort of move back to her or them or whoever and just and just sort of focus on that rather than I don't. It's like bursting the bubble. It's like they're in this lovely bubble of them.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, and obviously I communicate. So I've got quite a few of my London couples this year. When I go down to London, I'll message them in advance and go, do you want to meet up for a beer? And I always sort of do that. I like to meet my couples before the day. Just again, it's that extra level of like, not service, but it's nice. I quite enjoy it as well. It's quite nice to just go for a beer with them, get to know them, and they're even more sort of relaxed and the trust is even more there on the wedding day with you. So
yeah. Can I ask, Paul, about your personal life? Like, do you have kids or family or anything like that?
No, I'm engaged. I've got a partner.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you very much. Wedding planning is very difficult. I don't know how people do it.
Greg knows all about it,
dude. Like, are you married? Like, how did you?
So I'm married, but he's getting married in a few months.
2 months.
2 months. It's rough.
Did you For us, it's deciding what we want. Like going, we want to get married. Initially, it was like, I'll get married abroad. Well, we want to do the house because we're renovating a house. So I've got down.
You're full on, Jesus.
Just got a dog as well.
Oh my God.
No kids though, yeah. So that would have been just to throw that into the mix. Let's just chuck it. Let's just throw a kid into the mix and just see. Let's just see how we get on with that, So, but luckily our dog, she's amazing. Name's Indy. She's a border collie. She's 8-9 months old now. She's perfect. She's like such a good girl. She's a great dog. But yeah, no wedding planning of yet because we're just renovating the house, and I don't know. I honestly, every couple I meet and I speak to them, like I spoke to my couple last night who are getting married in a couple of weeks, and they're like just finishing renovating the house, they're getting married, they've just been traveling, and I was like, how did you do this? This is you're just not human. That's unbelievable. Respect, but I don't know.
Yeah, we planned a couple of the big things very early on.
Yeah.
And then we've been like, we're fairly organised. And now that it's 2 months away, we're starting to have meetings with the venue, meetings with the celebrant. And there's wee questions that I'm like, oh, fuck, we're not organised. There's lots of wee questions that I'm like, I've not decided that. That's to be confirmed. Yep, don't know.
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
You'll be fine. Less is more. I always say less is more. Less is more. Don't be, you can't, I think if you're too organised, it's, who's photographing your wedding then?
Well, photographing, I've got my mate Tom doing it.
Okay.
And then doing a video, we've got some guy called Simon doing
that. Okay. I've heard he's big in the game. I think he's all right. He's all right.
I've heard he's shite. Whatever. He's free, so he'll do.
That's nice. I think something similar with my friend Nick Malone, filmer I mentioned previously. Good friend of mine. I've known him a long time. He's getting married next year, I think. So I'm photographing his wedding and he's going to be filming my wedding.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is a lovely touch.
Yeah. Did you have a nice proposal story?
Actually, yeah, it's quite funny. So I'm, as I mentioned before, I'm originally from New Zealand. So I was born in a lovely little place called Palmerston North. It's not lovely. It's an awful, awful town. So if anyone's from Palmerston North, I'm really sorry. But we all know it's terrible. But I only sort of found this out when I went back there in 2016. I did a bike packed around New Zealand on my road bike, and people were like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was like, "You sound like you've got a bit of Kiwi in you." And I was like, "Oh, I'm from Palmerston North." Ooh. And I was like, "Oh, is it bad?" They're like, "Yeah, where have you been?" I was like, "Oh, living in England." Oh, okay. So we went over in 2023 in sort of over Christmas in January, and I've still got family out there. So my sister Alison, she's like my sister, but she's not my blood sister, but she's like, I've known her since she was a baby, so we just call each other. But she's like family, and her parents are like my New Zealand parents and that kind of thing. So, but I actually shot her wedding in the Bay of Islands in 2018 in New Zealand. So when we went back over there, took Emma with me, and we went to the Bay of Islands again in the same place that we stayed in for Alison's wedding, and we were staying there. And obviously they knew about it. And I was like, right, how am I going to? I was trying to figure out how I was going to do this and what ring I was going to propose with. So I got my. I don't know how much you've been to New Zealand or know about sort of like Maori culture or anything like that.
I don't know much about it.
I've not been there.
So basically, there's New Zealand greenstone. New Zealand greenstone's quite sort of precious over there and stuff. And it's you get it when you're over there. It's like it's everywhere, but it's really popular. But I got Alison, my sister, to buy a greenstone ring, and then David, her husband, he's half Maori. So he blessed the ring, which was really nice. Which is a really nice touch. And obviously, you can't buy greenstone. You should never buy it for yourself. You should always buy it as a gift because it's bad luck. It's another thing I didn't know. So okay. Alison told me this. So she bought me the ring, and it was $20 or something like that. It was super cheap, so it was cool. And I got this as like a temporary sort of ring, so I could propose with that, and that'll be all good. And I thought, yeah. And I was like, Bay of Islands, perfect, because it's a beautiful part of New Zealand, and we'll do it there. And I got my friend Jess McGee. Shout out to Jess McGee, one of my good friends. She's a New Zealand wedding photographer. She's over there. She's back in. I think she's in Christchurch now, and she flew up from Christchurch to do a couple shoot, and also take some pictures of Alison and Dave with their little boy Grayson. That was a ruse. And I think Emma must have been like, why don't you just do it? Like, you're a photographer. Why have you flown your mate all the way up here? So I think she knew. I'm about as subtle as a brick, I think. So I actually said to her, I was like, so I'm going to buy you a Christmas present. She's like, okay. And I was like, so I'm going to buy you some earrings or a necklace or a ring. What size ring are you? She's like, mate. She's like, that's not very subtle. And I went, what isn't? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, slid out the room, like, oh shit, I've been caught out. So I managed to like sneak one of her rings and get it measured and all that. But anyway, we went for a walk together with my friend Jess. I went to this like little quiet sort of beach, which no one was around, and I had it's really funny. I had the ring in my cargo shorts, like a Velcro. So I got it out of there, and I thought, what am I doing? Why have I got them in the Velcro like cargo shorts? And I and it just looked, it just didn't look great. And then I didn't get down on one knee because I was so nervous. And then kind of like held the ring up. She's like, yeah. Obviously, she said yes. And then I just stood there, and she went, you meant to put it on my finger. So I did that, and then we were like really nice. We had a really nice moment. I had some champagne. We all had some champagne. And then the funny bit, this guy, this old fella who had one of the boats, came onto shore with his two border collies. And they both went to the bathroom like right next to us, and he then cleaned it up. He's like talking to us, swinging the bag around, and we're like not knowing why we're drinking champagne and what's going on. Oh my God. He's just talking to us. He's like, right, see you later. And we're like, that was actually perfect. I'm really glad that happened. It's so funny. But like the when we were walking back earlier on in the day, Emma had bumped into someone with a border collie puppy. And she loves border collies, so she's grown up with border collies since she was a kid. Right. So they're really important to her. And it was actually the day I proposed, the anniversary when her dog passed away 2 years before that. So it's a very sad day, but obviously because this dog was super, important to them in the family and stuff. And she met this border collie on the beach in the morning, this little puppy, and was like, oh wow, she's playing with it. And then later on, when we walked back from the proposal, we bumped into the same dog again because it had escaped from its house. So Emma grabbed it, and Jess has got this amazing picture with this dog. And I'm like, you look more excited with the dog than the proposal. I'm not sure that's but it's a border collie puppy. So, I totally get it. Now I own one. I totally understand.
I mean, puppies have that effect on people.
They do, yeah. I know. I mean, Paul, you're cute. You're not puppy.
I'm not cute. Do you know what? I know. Yeah, totally understand that.
Amazing.
That's a good story.
Yeah. I asked because is it Nick Malone? He's got a proposal video on his site, and I was like, is that Paul? Is that?
No, I wish I'd taken that.
But I was like, that's
his stories. If you ever get him on here, that's a funny story. I won't spoil it, but he had a bit of stress behind that because he was like, set up a camera, and I said to him, did Lucy, his partner, said, did you not like when you took a drone up and then you set up a camera and to go stand over there. Did she not think like? Did she not? Come on. She must have been like, yeah, he's proposing here. Come on. There's like hot air balloons in the back. I think there's hot air balloons in the background. I'm not sure if he did it with the hot air balloons.
I can't see it here.
Maybe not
because the drone's up.
Yeah.
However, there is a wonderful little tourist in black doing Instagram things.
That's the story.
Right. Okay.
Maybe just wouldn't. When you're like, I'm going to go to this. Like basically, similar to my story. It was like, let's go to this quiet part of the beach where there's no people, and then someone pops out the bush and goes, "Hey, I'm just gonna not read the room." And it's a public. Yeah. It's a public space. It's like when you go in and you're shooting in sort of like, when we're shooting a wedding, you're like, there's no one around. Then someone will just pop out of nowhere and just stand in the way for like 20 minutes, and you're like, well, I can't say anything because it is like a public space. So
yeah, I mean, we've that happens a lot.
Yeah, you just got to get on with
it when we're up in Skye or whatever, and you do realize it's a public space, but you also want to try and create this moment for your couple. So on the odd occasion, you'll go up to someone and just ask politely if they could move.
Sometimes
I know it's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
But
I get that. Sometimes we do it.
We had one in Glencoe recently where, like, it was a landscape photographer had set up his tripod. He was getting his shot of the waterfall. And then we came along and he was like, he just volunteered to move. And he was like, oh, there you go. Have this spot. And then I think he took a few photos.
I think he did.
And he was like talking to the photographer to maybe share them with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
So nice.
He was
That's
doing
rare.
It was rare. It was interesting because they were both deaf photographers as well. So there was a little bit of, and by the way, it was pouring it down, lashing. It was so egregiously wet.
It was with David.
It was with David Conancy, and they were just the kindest people. And they took a few. They were doing they had the tripods out. They were doing the slow shutter thing with the water. Yeah. So
Oh, that's nice.
I wonder if David did get those actually. Oh, maybe I messaged him. But yeah.
Anyway, should we go to show and tell?
Let's go to
Talk about some of your images.
Yeah.
Because I sent you some pictures, didn't I? That's right.
I think you did,
yes,
but I think Simon also picked some himself. So we'll see what we've got here.
Sometimes I just go through people's Instagram and just I like images, either from a cinematic point of view or I just want to hear the story. Can you see the TV?
Oh yeah, I can see it.
All right, cool. So I actually just loved this image right off the bat. The colors, the kind of the gentle pinks and the greens here in the background. You're getting a call, Paul.
I'm not. Was that me?
Was that you?
Where'd that come from?
Who came from? Where did that come from?
Yeah, where'd that come from? I had it in the headphones.
What?
Spooky.
Am I getting a call?
Was it Gunsy? I don't know.
Gunsy in our headphones. What?
Not him. He's shaking his head.
No. Anyway, So the soft kind of palette is really pleasing me right off the bat, and then you've added this kind of lovely emotion because this person is jumping on the bed now. I don't know much about this and where I grabbed it from, so I don't know if this is a model or a style shoot or an actual wedding. Tell us about this and your thoughts on what you were trying to go for. And is this film or digital?
This is digital. This is a really fun shoot. So this is a model. This is a test shoot with a model in Manchester. Really, really lovely girl called Octavia. This is over on my sort of other Instagram, gingerbeard_photo. Where it's a lot of my sort of fashion work, and I'm getting sort of more into fashion. I did quite a lot of fashion last year. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's just a different sort of thing to do. A lot of the shoots are in the week as well, so it's perfect. Yeah. So we did. I'd booked out a hotel for another shoot, and that shoot got cancelled. So it was like I booked the hotel room to stay there for this shoot, which was going to be in I think it was King Street Townhouse or somewhere. But that shoot actually got cancelled, and I was like, right, I could cancel the hotel room, or I could do a shoot there. And I think Octavia had been messaging me saying, I really want to shoot with you. I love your work. And I said, I've got this room. Let's just do an hour in the room, bring some stuff, and we'll just play, basically. We'll just have some fun. And we were playing around. She was so professional. So she was just on it. We did like 7, maybe 8 looks in an hour. Like she was just bam, bam,
Wow.
bam, bam, bam. But like she was just like, I didn't have to do anything really. I didn't have to sort of pose her. I didn't have to sort of direct her. We kind of had a little bit of like, this is a bit of a collaboration. So I said, I really like, she said, what do you think of this outfit? What do you think of this outfit? And I said, I really like the pink, because the pink and the green will look, and the white will look really, really nice. And I think if you're just sort of like on the bed and just sort of dancing around, we had some music on, and I said, dancing around on the bed and just sort of like, just moving. And I put it on I think it was my Q343. I think it was, yeah. And I just put it on like a 15th of a second shutter speed, and I didn't sort of move the camera. I just basically had the camera still and was just taking pictures and just letting that sort of that slow shutter just make it look like she was dancing, and it was ethereal and beautiful, and that one came out. And I remember I took that one. I wasn't like, I just had on a single shot as well, so I didn't have it on like continuous or burst mode. So I was just waiting for like a nice moment, and I just take a picture. And I got this, and I remember just going, "Oh shit, we've got this!" And I was like, "Come and look at this!" And she's over the moon with the images. So and I am as well. I think as well, because we just got on so well. And when you get on with a model as well as I did with Octavia, the ideas were just bouncing and flowing, and she was just sort of up for sort of any suggestions I had, and this was one of mine, and it just went really well. Yeah, really happy with it.
So working with a model, you obviously said she was professional, pulling out poses all over the place.
Yeah.
How are you with a couple on a couple session?
That's a good question.
Much directing.
Nice segue, really professional, Greg.
Go to weddings. You know what? I think when I do a couple session, portrait session, every single portrait session is totally different, and you'll probably agree with me there. And you'll like working with me because I like movement. I like a lot of movement. And I'll do some sort of static stuff, and I'll work with the light and things like that. But I think my favorite, and I kind of, again, it's something I build up into in the first initial meeting when they haven't booked yet, and then the final meeting I talk about it as well. And I always say to them, your couple session, it's not for photographs. It's for you two to have 15 minutes away to just be together, because you'll get 15 minutes together, and the first portrait session, we might do one in the evening. Yeah. But those are the only real times you'll be together, apart from when you walk in the room together for the dinner. So just really enjoy that time together, and that way, if it's a bride and a groom, if you get, I mean, not all grooms like this, but like a groom is like, oh, I'm not really sure about my picture being taken, or that kind of thing. There is always one who's always potentially like, they're not sure about it. If you frame it like that, they're like, oh yeah, great. Get some time away, get time to chill. And they go, oh, I don't like my picture being taken. And I'll go, do you know what? I'll be the easiest part of your day, because I won't be pointing an iPhone in your face saying, look at me, I'm going to take a picture of you. Yeah. I'll be like, just go and hang out with your partner. And they'll be like, huh. Yeah, that makes sense. I get that. And then when you go to do that portrait session, because I'm just like cracking jokes, just having a bit of a laugh with them, and I usually go for a walk, and I'll give them breathing room. So I can't hear what they're talking about. They're just having some privacy, and I'll just snap some pictures, and then I'll go mid-shot, close up, and I get some close-ups, and I'll be like making some jokes. And by this time, they're just super relaxed with you, because I've spoken to them a couple of times. I've met them in person for a beer. I've hung out with them most of the day. They like me, hopefully, and usually, and you get on really well with them. You get on with their friends, and they're just relaxed. And I can't remember the last time I've ever had an issue during a portrait session where it's like it's been awkward, or it's been bumpy, or they've not followed the direction. So we'll direct a little bit, but it's mostly just be yourselves, and then or we might get some cool sort of shots, but I don't tend to do too much posing. I do a little bit of posing, but then I just let I've got a really nice one I shot at the wedding in Spain, where the groom sat down, the bride's leaning on his shoulder, and then they're laughing, and it's a genuine they're like, I can't remember what we were laughing at, but it's a genuine. That's my favorite. One of my favorite images. One of my favorite portrait images of the day because it's a genuine, nice moment where they're laughing. And I got a shot of them in their old Marylebone Town Hall wedding, and it's very similar where they're laughing at something. It's a very sort of similar shot, and it's all very natural, and I love that. So yeah,
that's cool. One last thing about this image: if I'm going through your portfolio, I wouldn't say that they're. I feel like this image kind of stands out. I don't feel, and I could be completely off the bat here, I don't feel this is the same like preset or your approach to color. Is it?
No, you're right. It's my new preset.
Right. Okay. Because I can see what you're right. Because your images they're quite dark and they have that kind of warmth to it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good description. And
it's so funny because our work is like that as well. Dark, slight tint of warmth to them. And me creatively, I'm starting to like move away slightly from that. And I don't know. There's a big part of my like if I was to go and have a look at the kind of cinema, like my favorite director is Christopher Nolan as well.
Oh, there we go.
I have watched Inception far too many times to
What's
be
your favorite Nolan film?
Inception is my personal favorite. I love everyone's. I love when there's a conversation about it. I'm also a gamer, so I like when new games and experiences come out, and you get involved in everyone's dialogue and talking about it and what makes this unique or some of the things that they could work on. And it's always just like people's. When they talk about this film, they're never too sure if it's a dream in a dream. Is the ending a dream? What's like the ending? And I'm okay, cool. Yeah. People are trying to guess what is the assumption after the film. I'm like,
it's funny how that annoys some people though. Like some people love it. They're like, I love the ambiguity and the questions. Other people are like, just tell me what happened.
And that's I think those are the kind of people who pick up a book and read the last page or have a peek at the Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. I think what I love that as well. And I think what I love about Nolan, he always has you coming away from his films with more questions. And like I remember I had to watch Tenet 3 times before I understood it. I didn't really like Tenet that much. I thought the sound design was quite poor and it was a bit convoluted, and I thought it got lost a little bit halfway through. But then when I watched it, the 3rd time I was like, oh, I understand now. Like, the little boy at the end is actually Robert Pattinson's character, and and I was like, yes, I get that now. The little boy who gets what's her name? Who get the Russian.
I wouldn't be able to say anything about Tenet because that's the movie that I did not connect with whatsoever.
No.
Every other movie has been great, but that movie,
totally. I think mine's Interstellar because I think mostly because of the soundtrack. I've got the soundtrack on vinyl. It's chills.
It's just a heartbreaking.
It's so good
story. It leaves me sad every time I watch it, so I don't watch it anymore. But it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful film.
Oh my god!
And obviously, it goes without saying. I mean, obviously the Batman trilogy. I think I remember seeing The Dark Knight. That's the opening night, and I remember I queued up for 4 hours. Because back then, I think you couldn't sort of like reserve a seat. I think you had to sort of like queue up or whatever. And I just remember I couldn't reserve a seat, but I had my ticket and I was like first in the line so I could get the best seat. But I have like a cinema anxiety. So like I have to get a good seat or I won't go and see. I'll wait. Like I waited. I think a month before I went to see Oppenheimer because I went to go see the 70mm version, and I sat in the sweet spot where obviously Nolan said you have to sit here, and I was like, okay, my captain, I will sit there. So I managed to get, and I went by myself and I watched like a 9 a.m. showing of it, and it was a great experience. So I think that's something he brings. He's not only a fantastic filmmaker, but he brings he wants you to experience. It's not just a film; it's an experience when you go to the cinema to watch that, which I really, really appreciate.
Yeah. Ironically, the other kind of film that I love is The Batman.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Funny because they're obviously being directed by two different. It's the same character, but two different visual takes on it.
Yeah.
But the use of practicals and the darkness, that's probably where our films have kind of leaned into that, because a lot of the time you're dealing with practical lighting at a wedding, say, and like if you look at our speeches or anywhere where it's inside, I don't care if it looks orange, like that's just part of it,
how it looks.
Whereas other people with
that candle is the main sort of Kelvin.
But I know other people who just white balance everything, and it just all looks the same, and I'm just like, meh.
Yeah, do you know?
So you know what? Technically, maybe. Yeah.
I think it's easy. I think from a filmmaker's perspective, if you've got if you're shooting in a beautiful environment where it's lit by candles, shooting that with obviously no like lights and stuff like that and stuff I totally get it, because it's the atmosphere. It looks atmospheric. I think from a photographer's point of view, maybe it's different. Maybe it's a little bit different, but I think definitely from your point of view, I think when you're shooting a wedding film and it's you want it to look like the way it was. I worked with a videographer a couple of weeks ago. Really nice, so nice. Got to the. It still cracks me up. We got to the dance floor and I had my flash. I went, oh, it was a really dark area, and I went, oh, how are you lighting it? And she had a light panel the size of an 18-inch like a laptop. It was like this big.
Oh dear. All right, interesting choice.
It looked great actually. I was like, oh, okay. That's cool. You crack on, yeah. But it just
like
I was
on,
like, how
on camera.
It was like on a tripod.
On tripod.
On a tripod.
Yeah.
It worked. It lit the scene. I was like, oh yeah, fair, crack on. You can probably get a smaller one, but hey, do you know what? I just turned my flash. I turned my flash off for some of the stuff and got some like really nice atmospheric-y shots with it. But it just really cracked me up. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Next image, because we're still on show and tell, believe it or not.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love this one.
Carpe the fucking DM.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There was something really pleasing about this image. It felt quite simple. But then there's that pop of humor. Now, I'm intrigued with what you'll do with these pops of humor moving forward, because there are a few images like this on your website where you've kept the humor in, and we have indeed talked about keep off the grass, the reportage image that has that similar type of humor. So I'm wondering, are you aware of the humor before you take an image? Right. Okay. So tell me about this.
So I was a shot a wedding in Tuscany in April, and I had a couple of days sort of afterwards in Florence to sort of have a mooch about. And this is a lovely little bar that I found in Florence, beautiful with great natural wine and stuff like that. So got my glass of wine. I was stood outside having a drink. I had I believe my M10P. That's my M10P. Okay. So that's manually focused. It's on, I believe it's 28. Yeah, 28. And that couple were clearly on a first date. And not in a weird way, I watched them for like 10 minutes, just like their body language. And because I initially saw the guy and he looks like Timothy Chalamet. A little bit. Oh yeah, as a Chalamet-esque, but he was quite funny. He was quite a cool guy, and I was like, she's like, they're both like really cool in their own right. And I was like, watching them, and I sort of stood, obviously where I took the picture, and I was waiting. I went, do you know what? Their body language is almost super similar. So I just waited. I only took one shot of them, and that was that shot. And I waited. I think I waited like half an hour for that. And then they basically crossed legs and they folded arms, exactly the same, heads pretty similar. And I took that image, but I like it because it's like a super serious moment. It's like you're on this date. They're a little bit, their body language is a little bit negative, but but then their legs tell a different story. The legs are like leaning towards each other.
It's very strange.
It's like they're sort of like conflicted about how they're feeling. And then above them you've got Carp the Fuck DM. So I was like, I really liked all those different elements and layers of that image, and I was like, oh, should I tell them I took that picture? Should I show them?
But that's what I was wondering. Do you?
Yeah. Sometimes, a lot of the time I do. I'll take a picture and go, oh, I've got to, show that person or whatever, or that, But in this, I think they were having such a deep conversation. I didn't want to be like, hey, I'm just some weird guy just stood opposite you, just taking pictures of you.
Yeah.
So I just left it. But I put it on my Instagram. I like the shot, so I like the shot. Yeah.
It could potentially be one of those awkward moments, like, they're on a first date. You look like a lovely couple, and they're like, we're not even a couple yet. Like,
yeah. You just gotta be
awkward.
Yeah, so I was quite happy with it. I thought I'll take the picture, and then
It's so we have our friend Ashley, who's got a desk at the co-working.
Oh, nice.
She and her boyfriend just went on a wedding shoot. A couple shoot. Sorry. Her sister makes dresses, and their photographer. She was working with a photographer to get product images of dresses, they asked her, because they're from Spain, I think it was, if they knew anyone, and they did. So they are on this shoot with Ashley and her boyfriend. Now,
very cool.
It is very cool, except for they're not getting married. And
there's that.
And they released their photos in their pre-wedding gallery.
The caption said pre-wedding shoot in Glasgow.
Oh.
She's like getting all these, are you engaged messages?
Yeah. That's tough on that.
So I think it put a lot of pressure on her boyfriend.
He's like pouring with sweat, like, oh God, what have I done? What have I agreed to?
Exactly. So just be aware that we can affect relationships. So just as well, probably in this instance as well, that you didn't. Anyway. Sorry, Ashley, if I told your story. So this image, I picked this because I love the colors. It's where colors in the scene react with the colors of the rest of something else, right? So if they're like, I love this kind of like deep red here mixed with this kind of olivey green, paired again with the yellow of the drinks and her dress. I know it's not a yellow dress; it is just a wedding dress. But I think, you've got the kind of nice tri kind of color look coming in, and I like that. And I think being a videographer, I feel like we're very attuned to details outside of a moment. I think a lot of photographers can just take the scene and that's the story within the scene. Like they just that's it, I've got the story. Whereas I think with video, you're kind of building up to
I'd agree with that. Yeah,
the main scene. So you're taking all these little micro moments, right? And I think we get asked quite a lot how you make an elopement film not feel like it's just a couple. And I always reply with like all the micro details, like all the other details that aren't just the couple and they're holding hands in their faces, right? Because there's so much grass moving, how light shines through a window, like hands, feet, like other parts of the body. So I think a lot of the times images like this are forgotten.
Yeah, I think
I like this.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a really nice story. This is they had a first look, and one of their favourite bars in Manchester, which has escaped me. It'll come to me in a minute. It's quite a new bar, but it's one of their favourites. And they said we love an old fashioned.
Oh yes.
Oh,
yeah. Me too.
I know, me too. They actually said, should we get you an old fashioned? I was like, no, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've got to shoot your wedding. So I declined it. And so we sat down. So initially they were like, we want a shot at the bar. This is what in their head they were like, we want to be at the bar, and we want shots at the bar. And I was like, sure. Get to the bar, and it's like super dark at the bar, and they had this lovely booth. And it was in the corner, and I had this idea in my mind, like an old like Hollywood film, like the couple are sat in the corner, the light's pouring through the window, there's a bit of smoke in the air, they're having an old fashioned, like Humphrey Bogart kind of that kind of a vibe. And I had this like idea, and I said, oh, do you mind going sitting over there and just having a drink? And then they got their drinks, they sat down, and it was just, I let them so that's not staged, that's just them. And I just said, just enjoy your old fashioned, just relax, and I'll just, shoot around you and whatever. And I managed to get that shot. It Yeah, I was shot on my 43, I think, as well, and it was just I really like the light hitting them from the window, the way their arms is like in symmetry, and it just really tells a story, sort of like building up to the rest of their day and like the expectations of their day, and it's one of my favorite. I love that image. Yeah, it's one of my favorite I've taken this year. Definitely.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's so simple as well.
On first glance, you're like, where's the focus? Is this one of those vibey photos where it's not quite? But then you look and you're like, it's on his ring.
Yeah.
Was that intentional, or was it more just?
Shall I say yes so I sound cooler? yeah, that was super intentional. No, do you know? I think as well. I don't think it would have worked as well if you didn't have a pink suit jacket, and their whole. So you can't see her hair, but the bride's got pink hair, and obviously she's got the pink jacket, and I can't reach it, but I've got they had an analog package, and I've got like a big stack of like photos for them. I'm delivering their photos on Friday actually.
Amazing.
Which is really nice. But their whole sort of like theme throughout the wedding was like pink, and they had Pink by Aerosmith as their first dance song and stuff like that, which is really cool. Great couple, really great couple. A lot of fun, really chill, really, really chill.
Yeah, it's cool. I quite often I call these types of not these types of images, but of the same kind of regard, texture images, right? So, for example, like if you were to go say, "Hey, you chill and just enjoy your drink," I think I would probably be like shooting the bar, shooting like the drinks are on the wall, like shooting the atmosphere. And I've never seen a photographer do random shots of the scene. Let me know if you do, by the way, if you are that kind of person, to just be like, oh, the light was coming in nice in the window and it was like highlighting a selection of bottles on the bar and I shot that image. Why not?
I think sometimes I do, like little elements of the day, especially if I shoot abroad. I can't share it on my phone, but I've got a series of images I'm going to be posting to Instagram of like Queenstown. There's a bridge in just outside of where's it called? Again, my mind is escaping me. Glenorchy. There's a place called Glenorchy outside of Queenstown, and when I went on my phone, I was like maps. I saw it said like it said Isengard's Landing, and I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so I went, what? Was this a place? Like, was this like a tourist place? But it wasn't. It was just a map saying this is where they shot. Like, this is Isengard. So I drove to it. There's no there wasn't many tourists. It was just like a bridge, and you got there. It's Isengard. It's unbelievable. I took my drone up and I got a couple of images, and I'm going to post it on my socials this week. In amongst, I think one of the things this year I'm doing is posting sort of scenic sort of images, sort of splattered or put amongst my couples images, just to break up my feed a bit. And also to be a bit like, ooh, that looks great, like a kind of thing. So is
that where they're crossing on the horses?
Yeah, I we can show you the image.
Beautiful. I'm on Google just now. Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a shot. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, is that the
bridge. So the monitor we are looking at is tiny and far away, but we can just about make it out. We'll be able to see it in the edit.
Yeah, I'll post it on my Instagram in a couple of days. But I was going to post it this morning, but I forgot, to be honest. So there you go. There we are.
It's fine. Next image, Greg. How
last one, I believe.
Oh, good. Right. One. So this. Oh my God, I've forgotten the photographer. Martin Parr. This was to me a very Martin Parr-esque image, like almost like a commentary on the culture of Italy.
Yeah, it's Cinque Terre.
Right. Okay. I love images like this because it's so. It's kind of like I don't want to say a Where's Wally, but you can look at it and find little bits
layered.
And I like images like that. Plus the colors again. And the leading lines of the brawlies there. Tell me about this image and why you took it.
Visually, I think for me it again reminds me of old cinema. like old films in the 60s. It really does.
Yeah.
Like even like, you know, like an old Bond film where Bond's sort of walking to the beach to his, like, you know, he's just had a conversation with a villain or something, or, you know, it just kind of in my head, it just had that sort of like look to it. This is shot on my Leica M6.
Okay.
I think, yeah, so it's film. I think that's Portra 400. In fact, yeah, that's Portra 400. But yeah, I love this image. I think it was just like the layering. I love the pops of colour with the sea, the green, the red, the parasols, and the people sort of like, you know, in amongst it and just like enjoying themselves in their holidays, and the sort of the layered sort of texture and the different stories that are going on within the image. Yeah, I love that one.
Also, everything's in focus, which is kind of nice.
It's always nice,
in a scene like this, because a lot of people shoot. You know, they have all these very expensive lenses, and they open up to 1.2, and they just pick a point in the middle, and then
yeah.
I mean, it's
out now. It's
the amount of conversations I've been having on this podcast with people like shooting 5.6 and up, crazy.
I've been taught since, especially documentary, I shoot 5.6 f8 drink reception always.
Yeah.
Always.
Really?
Always.
That's fascinating.
Because for me, when I'm shooting, say, a drinks reception, and this is like harking back to like York Place Studios, their style of shooting. Where's Wally in terms of like, you know, what you were saying before?
Yep.
If you've got like a drinks reception, and you've got like a melee of people in a outside or whatever, I'm just kind of looking and I'm waiting for little moments, like a layered sort of story between, because when that couple looks at it, like, oh look, there's all our friends, there's that person in the background, you know, laughing at something, and they can sort of see in that layeredness of like that image of all the people, especially speeches. If I get like outdoor speeches, I'll shoot that at f8, f11, like I'll shoot that sort of high. I've always done that, you know. And now, to be honest, when I shoot speeches, if it's like a dark environment, I'll always shoot flash, and I'll always shoot at 5.6. Again, always shoot, because even like summer, like I've got there's a venue in London called 100 Barrington, and this sort of dining area, it's the bulbs aren't the best. I think like tungsten bulbs are quite sort of it's not lit amazingly. You can get away with it, you can just white balance it, but I shoot sort of like direct flash on camera, bam, and it just looks a bit vintagey, looks really cool. And if you're shooting at 5.6 again, because it's long tables, there's multitudes, there's so many stories going on, you know, there's all these different stories and layeredness of it, and I think that just really adds to when you deliver the images, you know. I think you've got that layered and the textures, you say, the layeredness of like the story, and you can go, especially for the couple, because they can just point out their mates and their family and go, oh, look at that person in the background, didn't even see that. And I think that just really adds to it.
Definitely. Yeah.
You, I'm assuming you like to do that for like confetti tunnels and stuff, because
yeah, I do.
You can see everyone's faces.
Yeah, so I shoot.
It's quite nice.
Yeah, 5.6 to f8 again, depending on the light, and I usually do that. So I like to get people really, really tight in.
Yeah.
Really, really tight in. Tons of confetti, the more the better. And then I typically will do like tracking, so I'll just like I'll be on them, so it will never lose them in the confetti, and it just tracks them all the way through as the confetti goes up and it's everywhere and stuff. So yeah, I like doing them. I do love a confetti moment.
Oh yeah, me
it's
too.
Great. It's good fun, isn't it? I think it always looks better on film. Not gonna lie, I do, especially if you slow it down. I'm quite jealous of it, like filmmakers, because it's like, it just looks so much better on film, because it's like it's all coming down. You get the emotion. You slow it. You know, it's in slow mo. It just looks so good.
Yeah,
it's a good moment, especially when you got good confetti.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. What you go to? If you say, right, we've got the confetti, and they pull it out. What's your sort of, yes, I've got that. What's your favourite kind of confetti?
You know what? I genuinely have never even thought about it. But
I don't have
big
a favourite
paper rings.
Yeah, I like the paper rings as
the
well.
Wide,
the one that's not as good is like the
rice.
Well,
Get the fuck out of here.
the flowers that are like really thin and small,
Yeah,
they
the
just
flower
they
petals.
just fall too quick, and
It's like
they're too small.
done. It just doesn't look good. Yeah, so it's a shame because I like the paper as well, but apparently it's not as biodegradable as. Apparently, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it is biodegradable. It washes away and stuff, but it's fine. I think hopefully, but it looks the best. It flies in the air. Sometimes though, I've had couples with like buy loads of confetti. They're like, Roger, and then they buy so much, and I've had and they're throwing the confetti up. I'm like, I can't see the couple.
Yeah,
I can't see them.
That does happen.
Like,
I mean, I've got one of your images up here. It's just like you can see the bride's eye and the
Which
groom.
one? Oh my god. Which one's that?
I've just got it here. I don't know if you'll be able to see on my laptop, but just like
oh yeah, that was
absolute carnage.
They were very. So what was nice about that was the groom was so involved in that wedding day with the color schemes. I think he's a graphic designer, and he color schemed all the bunting. The
I was going to say, the bunting's the same color as the confetti.
Yeah.
Wow,
he smashed it. And
very nice. And
he
the
got
flowers.
The flowers. He was. Wow. Yeah, they both their input on this wedding was so, and I really love it when they both got loads of input. But they had instead of the little the cones, and they're the kind of useless of confetti, and you're like, oh cool, and you've got the couple going, we painstakingly spent a whole day yesterday putting them together, and I'm like, that's nice. Pour the confetti into your hands, and the couple are like, oh no. And so what I say is I'd have obviously a big basket and just get handfuls and stuff like that, and then if there's left, get someone to chuck it over their heads, and that's always quite nice. Or with this wedding, they had little snack pot kind of pots full of confetti, tons of confetti, and every single person had it was the size of this mug.
Okay.
Full of confetti.
Right.
And I remember going past and everyone had one of these things, and I looked at them going, oh dear God, that's a lot of confetti. That's going to be this is going to be epic. So and it worked out really well. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a good few images I'd love to talk about, but we won't because show and tell. I was sensible. So
in wrapping up, we
Yeah.
normally ask for a book recommendation, but I'm going to change it up. We've been talking about Nolan a lot. Is there any more under the radar films that you'd recommend for the cinematography or framing? Give us a movie for our guests to go away and dive into.
Oh, that's a really good question. I've got so many. I think I could say that the last film I watched. I'm going to talk about that real quick, and I'll mention a couple of others because my brain's going now. But I just watched Sinners.
Okay.
That's a great film. I don't know about you, but I struggle with running your own business or just life, and you just oh, I'm going to sit down and watch a film, and then you're like, yeah, I've got to email this person back, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that, and your brain's not focused in on what you're watching. So Sinners was the first film. Watched it at home. First film I watched in a very long time where I didn't even think about my phone or think about anything else. It was so gripping. Michael B. Jordan's incredible. Haley Steinfeld's amazing. The cast, great cast. It's it's one of the best films I've seen in that genre for a very, very long time. And it reminded me a lot of From Dusk Till Dawn and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a great film. New film to watch. And now, from a cinematography point of view, one of my favourite Tarantino films, Jackie Brown.
Okay.
Jackie Brown.
I've never seen Jackie Brown.
See, get on it right. There's an opening sequence with Pam Grier. So Pam Grier, she's a stewardess, and she gets off her flight and she's walking through the airport. And there's one of the things now that you don't see in cinema that much is, obviously when you're at film school and you're taught, you're right, so character is leaving the house. You don't see them leave the house. You just see them picking the keys up and then they're at the car.
Yeah.
You don't see everything in between because your brain will put that together. You don't need to see that, and that's something I was taught at film school sort of very early on. But what I like about Tarantino, he has Pam Grier walk through the airport with a series of amazingly beautiful shots, beautifully shot, all the way through the airport with is it Bobby Womack, 110th Street playing, and it's such a sequence. Another film, Miller's Crossing, Coen Brothers.
Not seen that.
Another
one.
good. It's a
But I do like Coen
great
Brothers.
film. So there's an opening. So I had to do a 2,000 word essay on this film of the opening sequence, and it's basically it's a steady shot, and it's in a forest, and a hat blows in the wind. It blows, and it lands perfectly in front of the camera, and you're like, why is that there? And it just gets you thinking. It's obviously then that's like, I think it's like then 3 weeks late before or whatever, and I don't think it says that, but it's like, that's a foreshadowing of what's to come kind of thing for this for this story. So that's another really good one. But I think my ultimate film for people to watch for the cinematography is probably Heat. It's one of my favorite. Yeah. That's probably top 5 films of all time. It's Michael Mann, and the director is the cinematographer is my favorite cinematographer, Dante Spanotti. He's an Italian cinematographer. He is, wow, unbelievable. And I think Michael Mann loved shooting in. You don't get many films shot in LA anymore, but back then all the sort of street lights were tungsten bulbs.
Yeah.
If you watch another one, might slip in my mind. Jamie Foxx, Tom Cruise, Michael Mann film. It'll come to me in a minute, but it's a great film as well. But I love Heat because there's scenes in it which are so beautifully lit and beautifully shot. There's a scene with Robert De Niro, his character Neil, when he comes back into his house and he's looking out to the sea and he hasn't got any furniture. He's got this house, but he's got no furniture. He's got no belongings, because the whole premise of the film is if the heat's around the corner, you can walk away in 30 seconds flat. If if the police are coming, you can just walk away from your life, and you can sort of and that's it. So he walks into his house and it's like lit blue. And they got the sea crashing in, and it's to signify his loneliness and his emptiness in his life, and much more sort of layered detail. But that is, it's such an incredible shot, so beautifully lit, and that film is lit beautifully. It's an amazing film. It's a masterpiece. So yeah, it's one of my favorite films.
I've never actually watched Heat, but it's like
so many films you can watch.
Surely that is like peak Al Pacino, peak Robert De Niro.
Oh yeah.
Val Kilmer as well.
Val Kilmer, and it's peak Val Kilmer. He had Ponytail. It's got Tom Sizemore in it. Ashley Judd's in it. Hank Azera's in it. And there's this whole scene in. It's a really famous scene where Al Pacino's character is interviewing Hank Azera's character, and he's trying to get to Ashley Judd, who's married to Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's one of the guys taking down big scores, and he's one of the sort of like bad guys. But there's no real bad guys in this. It's kind of reverse. You end up liking Robert De Niro's character more than you like Al Pacino's character, and Al Pacino's the cop. But you prefer Robert De Niro's character. You kind of get him more, and you kind of like him more.
Yeah.
But there's this scene in it where he's being interrogated, Hank Azera. I'm not going to say the line, but go watch it. But he improvises that, Al Pacino. He kind of screams in Hank Azera's face, and you see him go, slumps back in his chair like, I don't know what to do. Like, he doesn't know. You see him go, I wasn't the line, and he just goes, and it's just unbelievable. So well acted. It's just, So I'm a big fan of that film.
Got some homework to do.
The Jamie Foxx one's Collateral.
That's it, yes. I think of it.
I remember after watching that, I went down a rabbit hole on Miles Davis and bought loads of vinyls just from, I think it was just one scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Isn't that Tom Cruise?
Yeah. It's his best film. I think it's his best film.
I've seen that one.
I think it's Tom Cruise's best film. It's beautifully, because it's all shot at night in LA. It's all, I think it was just before they changed the lights from tungsten, the street lights from tungsten bulbs to LED.
Yeah.
All right.
And you can tell because it's like, obviously because, LA is a very heavily sort of polluted city. And you can see like in the tungsten bulbs, like all the sort of like in the air, there's this pollution in the air, and it's all, it's just, what a film. I got into Audio Slave because of that film.
Yeah.
Audio
Slave,
yeah.
I think I might have been into them already a little bit, but Audio Slave. I think it's Shadow of the Sun. He's driving. It's like I think they're driving through, and he sees that wolf in the road, and then it's like obviously that's when it all goes a bit the third act, it goes a bit pear shaped, but it's a great film. It's another really good film.
Yeah, that's a good film.
That's a lot of homework for everybody.
That is a lot of homework. I love it.
These are a lot of ones I studied at uni. Like Heat, I did an essay at uni with Heat. We watched because we obviously, you know, another one to look at is probably from a really sort of indie filmmaking is the Dogma 95 act. So Dogma 95 is a bunch of Scandinavian and Nordic filmmakers like Lars von Trier, Gus Van Sant, and they were making films like half of them are absolutely. We watched one of them called The Idiots, and it's possibly one of the hardest films I've ever had to watch. It was awful. But
The Idiots,
yeah, The Idiots, and but the reason we watch these films at uni to sort of like it was all they have this like manifesto. You can't use a tripod, you can't use gimbals, you can't use CGI. You have to all the dialogue's improvised, and I think from a filmmaking point of view, and from a to sort of watch these films to sort of see that rawness and that of that genre, it's super interesting.
Yeah. I've just come across a website called movementinfilm.com. I'm gonna have a look through it. I genuinely don't know much about it, but there's a little bit of that, and then other German expressionism, French, Soviet, Italian,
Soviet.
like
That's what
Japanese
we learned.
New Wave,
That's it,
British New Wave, like a whole host of things. So if you're in cinema and you don't know much about cinematography movements and stuff, it could be interesting. I probably don't. Actually, so I'll be diving in there. Exciting times.
More homework for people. Where can they find you online?
Oh, my Instagram is Gingerbeard Weddings. That's where you'll find all my wedding stuff. And then I've got my other Instagram where I do my fashion and my street photography, which is gingerbeard_photo.
Awesome. You're about to set him off with more homework. Like, no, that's enough, Paul. That's enough.
I do, honestly, if you get me talking about films, I'll be here all day. Like I was just, you got me when you mentioned Japanese films, I was like, don't even get me started on Battle Royale or Old Boy or that's great.
Oh my God, Old Boy. Right, no.
It's such a film. Like that, Police Story, so good.
Battle Royale.
It's Battle Royale's like, it's all right.
It's all right. Maybe we've said a couple of titles there, and people are like, "What's Battle Royale?" I'm like,
you're in for a treat.
You're in for a treat, folks. Anyway, people can find us at perspectivebycinemate.com, our Instagram at perspectivebycinemate. Greg, you've looked very comfortable this whole podcast.
I thought that, yeah.
You've looking comfortable.
Very chill.
What is that behind your
these
back?
pillows.
Oh,
these are nice pillows.
Oh, these are our branded merch that people can buy to support the podcast, and you can also buy yourself a little metal mug.
I need
with our branding. So if you want to support the podcast and you don't know how, buy some merch.
Love that. That's great.
Podcast is now full of ads.
I did notice the cushion. I like the cushion.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
it's very cool.
Yes, these seats are quite big, and I've just like shoved it down the side of me. It's actually given me a little bit of comfort. So it's quite nice. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, thank you to With Jack and Pick Time for sponsoring another episode of this podcast. And if you have enjoyed this conversation, you can hit subscribe on our YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. However,
in the meantime,
enjoy your life.
That was good chat. Really good conversation.